Good evening. This is the regular joint meeting of the Oakley City Council acting as the successor agency to the Oakley Redevelopment Agency, Oakley Public Financing Authority. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. I will now call the roll. Councilmember Henderson?
Here.
Councilmember Fuller?
Dr. OG's here.
Councilmember Meadows?
Here.
Vice Mayor Shaw?
Here.
And I am the mayor, Anissa Williams. We are now going to have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Pearl Jawdry, who is an Almond Grove Elementary student. And you can come right up here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we're moving on to item 1.3, which is an update from Contra Costa Water District, Vice President Antonio Martinez.
Good evening, Mayor Williams and members of the council. I'm here to provide you with an update on what we're doing as a district. I'd like to start with introducing myself. My name is Antonio Martinez. I'm currently the Vice President of the board, and I'm joined here by Oliver Simons, our Senior Public Information Specialist. So Contra Costa Water is a special district. Special districts are formed and governed by local residents to provide essential services. At Contra Costa Water District, our primary function is to provide water for consumption, irrigation, business, and fire suppression. While we work closely and coordinate with stormwater and wastewater utilities, other agencies are responsible for those services in our area. Special districts are not governed by cities or counties. We cover numerous cities, yet not the entire county. CCWD is governed by a 5-member board of directors, each of whom lives in the area they represent. I guess I should call the next slide up. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So we have a 5-member board. Ernesto Avila is our current president of the board. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the vice president of the board. Pat Young is the director of Division 1. John Berg is our director of Division 2, and Constance Holdaway is our director of Division 5. Your representative in Oakley is Constance Holdaway, but she would typically provide this presentation to you, but she's unavailable, so I'm here to do that for her. Contra Costa Water District is wholly dependent on the Delta. We are able to divert water from 4 locations: Mallard Slough near Pittsburgh, Rock Slough near Oakley, Old River near Discovery Bay, and Mill River on Victoria Island. High quality water in the Delta is seasonal, as we all know, and it depends on the snowpack and rainfall received each year. When Delta water quality is high, or at its best, we store as much as possible in our Los Vaqueros Reservoir for use when Delta water quality begins to decline. The more than 80-year canal, shown as the thick blue line, is the backbone of our system. It delivers water from the Delta and Los Vaqueros to our treatment plants, municipal partners, and industrial customers. We supply water via the Contra Costa Canal to more than 520,000 residents throughout Central and Eastern Contra Costa County. We are a wholesaler and also a retailer. Approximately half of the people we serve get treated water directly from us. They live or work in the large light green portion of this map on the left-hand side. The remaining half gets the water from one of our municipal partners, like the Diablo Water District, which serves the city of Oakley. Diablo Water District purchases untreated water from CCWD, which is treated and blended with groundwater pumped from 2 wells. The treated water is then delivered to customers through its distribution pipelines. Our water system at a glance. We operate a complex system to ensure water is delivered to you. Our untreated water system supplies water to Contra Costa Water District as well as the municipal system partners mentioned on the service area map slide. As previously mentioned, each of our municipal system partners, including Diablo Water District, has its own treated water system to operate and maintain. Let's talk about the water journey a little bit. The journey of Contra Costa Water District's water begins as snow in the Northern Sierra. I'll talk more about water supply in the following slides. As the snowpack melts, water fills rivers and reservoirs, including Shasta, and eventually flows down into the delta. We pump water from the 4 locations I mentioned earlier in our slide. When we pump water from the delta, we can either store the water in the Los Vaqueros Reservoir or deliver it directly to our customers through the canal. Water put into the canal from the delta or Los Vaqueros and then makes its way to the treatment plants before it goes to homes or businesses. Our water supply. Our water year started on October 1st. After a slow start, a series of winter storms in California and significantly replenished our water supply. Overall precipitation is slightly below average for the year. But when you combine the extreme wet weather we had in 2023, our state's water supply is in a healthy position. As of May 23rd, the state water supply in Lake Shasta is currently 96% full and sitting at 115% of its annual average. Local water supply. The Los Vaqueros Reservoir is currently 91% full as of 5/23. A window for filling Los Vaqueros opened in April, and we began filling the reservoir on April 10th and expect to continue to do so through the end of May. Storage of Los Vaqueros Reservoir is a great benefit to our customers because Delta water quality is seasonal. When Delta water quality is the freshest, then we store it in the reservoir. Thankfully, our customers are using water efficiently and have made conservation a way of life in recent years due to drought. While we're not experiencing drought conditions at this time, we appreciate the community's effort and commitment to conservation of our natural resource. Here are a few ways Contra Costa Water District works to help our customers use their water in smart, efficient ways, which helps preserve our long-term water supply. Our water efficiency team offers a wealth of rebates and resources to assist commercial and residential customers. WaterWise House Call. You can get a free water audit by our staff if you call them. We have our lawn to garden program where you can swap your front and backyard lawns with drought-tolerant plants, $1 per square foot up to $2,000. I personally have taken advantage of this, and it has helped my water bill tremendously. We also have smart irrigation controllers, and there's rebates on those, and those vary. We also have mulch coupons, car wash coupons, and free fixtures available. Details are available at ccwater.com/rebates. Water sales. After a dip in water sales last year caused by a particular wet winter, water sales are projected to be on budget for fiscal year 24. Still, some of our costs, including capital project and operating expenses, are increasing due to overall increasing costs of purchased water, treatment chemicals, and fuel. To address this, we have identified certain operating cost reductions and adjusted the timing of capital projects. We also will dip into our reserves. However, these are only a one-time use strategy. Capital project deferrals are not a good thing or not a good long-term strategy, and we need to reinvest in our infrastructure as much as we can. We are identifying long-term strategies now through a regular update to our capital improvement plan, or our CIP, and a 10-year financial plan. These efforts help us evaluate our overall financial strategy to meet the district's mission and commitment to our customers. CCWD water continues to be a great value for our customers. The average customer buying treated water from us pays about $3 a day for water. The water bill covers much more than just the water itself, which is a very small percentage of our overall budget. Nearly half of those funds go to paying for system operations and maintenance to treat and distribute the water, as well as to repairing leaks within our 900 miles of water pipes. About 1/3 of the water bill goes to pay for investments in infrastructure projects, which I will discuss next. CCWD always first explores non-rate revenue when evaluating rate increase. Other sources of income may include grants, developer fees, land leases, and property taxes. We are currently about 80% ratepayer funded and 20% non-rate funded. CCWD facilities belong to our customers, as they were paid for in large part through water bill repayments. The residents of Contra Costa Water District have entrusted the board and through it CCWD staff to operate existing facilities and to plan, design, and construct new facilities to meet water quality and reliability goals, growth, demands, and conservation and other regulatory rules. We have a long history of completing large projects on schedule and under budget, and there's a list of those on this slide. We seek outside funding whenever possible, and overall, we funded more than 70% of these projects using outside resources. Another of our long-term infrastructure projects is the Randall Bold Water Treatment Plant in Oakley, which we built in 1992 and upgraded in 2007. We jointly own and operate Randall Bold with Diablo Water District. Randall Bold is a state-of-the-art facility that treats water before it's delivered to customers within our service area, including Oakley. Randall Bold has a production capacity of 50 million gallons per day. As one of our all-important water treatment facilities, we are continually investing in our infrastructure, including a Randall Bold to provide reliable water service for Oakley. We are regularly evaluating and improving our systems and equipment so that we can meet service demands, and we are constantly working to ensure the safety of our systems at our facilities. We are currently in the midst of a major project to enhance safety at Randall Bold, which is the plant chemical conversion to eliminate the use of chlorine gas and aqueous ammonia in favor of much safer alternatives, among other improvements. This is critical for the safety of our workers, but also for the safety of the surrounding community. Most of this work is complete, and the project is on track to fully be completed before the end of 2024. Next, I want to talk a little bit about our canal. The Contra Costa Canal is the backbone of our water system. The canal was built in the 1930s and 40s and continues to deliver nearly every drop of water we sell. We look at the canal in two sections. The main canal shown in blue, which runs from Oakley to Clyde, and the loop canal shown in white, which continues from Clyde to Martinez. The gray line on the right side of the map is part of the main canal known as the Rock Sluice segment, and I'll talk more a little bit about that in our next slide. The main canal is aging and poses multiple challenges for us. The number one is life safety. The canal presents a hazard to those who cross its fences, and on average, one person has drowned on that canal a year. And that's the most important thing for us as a board. Water quality. The open canal is vulnerable to water quality degradation, including algae blooms and stormwater runoff. 3, the water supply. Earthquakes and landslides pose a risk to the canal caused by storms, like we've had the past 2 winters. The open channel also loses water to evaporation and seepage through cracks. And 4, maintenance. Costs to maintain the canal continue to increase as it ages. Most of the challenges I mentioned occur along the main section of the Contra Costa Canal, which delivers more than 99% of the water we treat and serve. We're now working to modernize the canal in a way that eliminates those challenges and results in a reliable facility for the next 100 years. The Loop Canal, which is in Central County, is not part of this effort, but will be evaluated in future years. We are now in the process of developing preliminary design, environmental permitting strategy, as well as updating project financing strategy over the next 2 years. To address challenges at the beginning of the canal system, Contra Costa Water District is replacing the final stretch of open, unlined canal near our intake on Rock Slough, the gray line on the previous slide, over there on the right of that slide. We are partnering with the city on this project, and I want to express our appreciation to the City of Oakley staff and City Council who have been collaborating throughout this process. Since 2009, approximately 14,000 feet of the unlined canal has been replaced with a buried pipeline. A buried pipeline will improve drinking water quality and improve the quality and climate resiliency and enhance public safety and security, as well as minimize water losses due to the evaporation and infiltration onto the soil. We have completed the replacement of segment 5B, approximately 6,400 feet of open canal near East Cypress Road. The City of Oakley has fully executed the design and construction agreement to the next portion of the work, which is identified as segment 5A. Currently, the plan is to connect that portion to segment 5B once the city has completed the relocation of East Cypress Road. This project remains a high priority one for the district, and we look forward to continuing to work with the city to complete this important infrastructure investment. Finally, I want to also share a quick update on where we are with the Los Vaqueros expansion. The project has been awarded a maximum eligible funding of $477 million from the state through Prop 1 money. This is a huge milestone and marks the first outside investor in the Los Vaqueros project. The local agency partners, which includes Contra Costa Water, continue to evaluate moving forward with the expansion project, which would improve water supplies and water quality and develop water supply for environmental water management. In addition to raising the dam height and increasing the storage capacity of Los Vaqueros by 72%, the project will construct new pipelines, pump stations, and other facilities. Contra Costa Water District customers will continue to enjoy the same benefits they've received for decades, in addition to realizing a new revenue stream from the local agency partners who rent space in that facility. Since the beginning, both 2012 Los Vaqueros expansion and the future expansion have been guided by Contra Costa Water District's board principles, which include that it must enhance quality and reliability to our customers, it must enhance the Delta environment and enhance fisheries, must preserve and increase recreational opportunities for our residents, and Contra Costa Water District must retain control of the watershed and reservoir. And lastly, we must protect and reimburse the financial investments to our customers. This was placed before the voters of Contra Costa Water District, who voted in favor of us working with public sector agencies to expand the reservoir. It also stipulates that no water will be exported to Southern California or the Peripheral Canal. The Los Vaqueros Reservoir Joan Pires Authority was formed in October 2021, and we're continuing the process of negotiating agreements with partner agencies, getting permits, and finalizing environmental review. Our partners in this project are Alameda County Water District, Contra Costa Water District, which includes also the city of Brentwood, East Bay Municipal Utility District, Grasslands Water District, San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Agencies, which includes Byron Bethany Irrigation District, Del Puerto Water District, Panoche Water District, Westlands Water District, the City of Tracy, Santa Clara Valley Water District, and lastly, Zone 7 Water Agency. We're also currently participating in the ongoing process being led by the county's Office of Emergency Services to upgrade our local hazard mitigation plan. And I saw it out on the way in that you're doing the same thing. So this plan was put together with participation from over 40 local agencies and provides a roadmap for the county to become more resilient to the impacts of natural, human-caused, and technology-based hazards. Since April, we've been sharing information and resources directing community members to provide their feedback on the plan. We made this information available on our website, through our social media, in the lobby of our Concord headquarters, and whenever possible at in-person events like this one. Feedback can be submitted on the county's website, or you can use the QR code on the next slide, on the slide here in front of you, and go directly there. And with that ends my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to see if I can answer them.
Any questions from the council? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
All right, next we're gonna go to item 1.4, which is an update from Diablo Water District from Dan Mulrath, the general manager.
Good evening, Mayor Williams and fellow members of the council. Good evening tonight, having Contra Costa Water District present a little bit of the kind of bigger picture, and then we're going to dive into what's happening locally within the city of Oakley and some of the outlying areas that we service. So as you heard Vice President Martinez discuss about the kind of overview within the state of California, I got a slightly different picture, but same numbers. It's great when all the numbers line up. So Shasta is 96% full, 114% of historical year to date. So as he was mentioning, we're looking pretty good from a statewide perspective. And just a fun fact, all the things that go into water getting to us and getting to our customers, that Shasta is about 230 miles away. And so that water's coming that far to get to the intakes for Contra Costa Water District. And then once it gets into our system out of Randall Bolt, we have another 170 miles of pipe that zigzag underneath all the streets of the city, trying to get the water to every end customer and end use. So with that, the water supply is looking great. 2 years of average and above average rainfall. On the flip side of it, when we remember any of our economics courses, we got supply and demand, and the other side of the equation is demand. And what we're looking at for Diablo Water District is over the last year, we're seeing demand reductions sustained and continue to keep going down. So we're looking at about an 18% reduction in demands from last year to this year. And we do plan for, some annual drop, and that's due to water use efficiency regulations, natural change of fixtures, changing out lawns, things like that we want, that slow and steady conversion. But this is, again, on top of historically low demands. So we've seen demands, if you go back 20 years, we're probably down about 40% on a per capita. Reasons locally, obviously we had 3 years of drought, but then we got the 2 years of the wet and normal winters. And that essentially equals about a five-year kind of compounding suppression of demands. And so if we get that rain into the spring or it starts early in the year, people are either starting irrigation later or turning it off earlier in the year. And there's also the messaging from the state of California and the regulations that they are putting on all water utilities in the state of California. And some of the things that we've done, because we like to make sure that the public and city council understands that we are fighting for our customers. And although we do believe in the efficient use of the water resources, we believe in letting the local community and the local policymakers decide how we're going to hit these targets. And instead, the state has pushed down very draconian regulations and significant regulations to how much we need to reduce overall water that we can sell to the community. And that's irregardless of how much we've already invested. When I say we, I mean the community members. We have 20-year, 30-year horizon planning documents, and we've invested funds to make sure we have sufficient water supply, space in the pipes, everything. And the state comes in with their own set of regulations. It doesn't give us any credit or incentive to keep investing in local supply, even though we need to for resiliency reasons. So we did discuss with the state. We talked to our assembly members and other legislatures, so we are always out there advocating for our local ratepayers to help prevent these artificial demand reductions that do result in rate increases to the customer base. So looking at where our water rates go to, a little bit different cut of the pie than what we saw from Contra Costa Water District, but a lot of similar projects. It's 24/7. Our water isn't a 8 to 5 job, so it's on 24/7. It's not just for irrigation, showers, toilet flushing. It is high quality drinking water. It's for firefighting. It's life and safety. We also have our in-house emergency response, and so that's our own crews out there doing those repairs. When you see them out there at 2 in the morning, that is Diablo Water District employees. We also always incorporate innovation, trying to keep labor costs and repair costs down. And this year alone, we deployed ultrasonic sensors that allow us to go out there and leak detect on the pipe. And we might do neighborhood by neighborhood at a time. So you might see us out there pulling valve cans, putting sensors down, come back a day later, and it's recorded if there's a leak in the street. So rather than that call coming in at 5 p.m. on Friday, like they always do for a leak, we're trying to get out there and get ahead of them. We also have water safety and security. It could be physical security, additional camera upgrades that go in, additional supervisory control and data acquisition, and also cybersecurity. I mean, it's big in our industry as well to make sure that we're ahead on everything that we can be. The other thing is our customer service. We hear this time and time again from people that have rentals or homes in multiple cities around here, is that our level of customer service by personalized phone calls to our customers if they're behind on a bill, setting them up on rate plans, that's something that we do pride ourselves on, and being members and good stewards within the community. I'll also just hit on something, just because it's a large number that people don't really think about a lot, is how many assets do we have in the ground and how much do we have above grade? Most of ours is below ground, and if we had to replace everything in one day, one major catastrophic event, which wouldn't happen that way, but our replacement that we had to budget for is a $700 million replacement, and that gets done through annual repair and rehabilitation. So a couple $1 million each year we're out there doing projects, and that includes projects, as we heard from Vice President Martinez, with Randall Bold Water Treatment Plant. Our repair funds go to pay our portion of that treatment plant. So how do our rates compare to other locations? They're actually some of the lowest in the area, and it's also, we have some of the highest water quality in East Contra Costa County. You know, the more groundwater you use, the cheaper your rates typically are, and so we walk that line of how much we blend with the water system versus how much, what water quality we're shooting for. And we're always top of mind is what can we do for anybody that's low income disadvantaged. So we do have our discount assistance program up to 50% off the service charge on that. And then we don't go into much detail on our different rebate programs, but we do partner with Contra Costa Water District on some programs, and other ones we strictly run in-house. It's something we've been cognizant of the last handful of years, of trying to pull more programs in-house so our customers see Diablo Water District faces more. So the best tool that we have out there for our customers, and something that we're proud of, is that our entire system is 100% what they call automated meter reads. And so customers can go in and set up thresholds to get alerts ahead of time if they're gonna potentially have a leak, a high bill. I just wanna be able to track consumption usage in near real time. It's usually about 4 to 6 hours behind is what the data is running. But it's a lot better to get noticed after 4 hours of a potential, or it would take 24 hours till it triggers, but it'd be a lot better to know after 24 hours than after 30 days when the bill get issued that you might have had a leak. And again, just different tools in there. You can get leak alerts, threshold consumption. If you don't want your bill, if you want alerts when your bill's gonna be over $50 or $100, you can set those thresholds, get a text straight to your phone or an email. Maintaining the water system. So we're always out there. Vehicles are always out throughout the system. And the one thing I wanted to highlight on this one, all these pin dots are different things we're doing throughout the system, the water system flushing. So sometimes it's counterintuitive. Customers might see water flowing down the street and they don't realize that that's something we have to do for the health and safety of the actual water that's in our system. When we have dead ends and there's no use on it, it's usually coming out of a fire hydrant. And so we need to flush the system at a high velocity just to pull out the dead end or stagnant water. And again, when it comes to water, everything is very local. And even within Contra Costa County, how we heard a few minutes ago that the over the hill is Contra Costa Water District. Kind of this side of the hill, we each have our own water systems that are servicing the cities. So we always want people to go to the local source, and ours would be through our website, Facebook, e-news, and other means and fashions there. I believe this is almost my last slide here, looking at our projects for this year. One we're really proud of is our seismic retrofit. If you guys look up at the 5 million, we have 2 5 million gallon reservoirs up on the hill above Laurel there, and we're able to get federal funds for about half of these seismic improvements. We're actually waiting to sign that agreement, so then we can do the last part of that improvement on that reservoir. We're also, again, with resiliency in mind, engineering a second parallel pipeline that comes down that hill that serves our main system. And so that'll be designed, and we're waiting to find out if we make it through federal appropriations. We requested another $4.5 million for that project. We're also getting solar installation done on our new Emergency Operations Center. I think the permit is setting somewhere in City Manager McMurray's team's offices right now. And the next thing is we'll actually be moving in and occupying that building, which will be in the fall. And then we also always looking to make sure that we're meeting standards for any water we're putting in the system. Some new regulations are coming into effect that require additional groundwater treatment. So we're gonna be spending about $2 million on additional groundwater treatment to keep high water quality in the system. And the last thing, it's outside of the city of Oakley, but you might get questions on it. Sandmountain Boulevard, there's 4 water mutuals out there that we're consolidating, going through a state process. Again, 100% grant funded. No, customers should not be paying any money when they connect into our system for the initial piping and connection fees. And then we're looking at 13 other water systems on Bethel Island. Any questions?
Any questions from any members of the city council? Councilmember Fuller?
Yes, I just wanted to compliment you on your website. I found it very useful,
Thank you.
friendly, user-friendly, and a lot of data that probably I'll never have to use, but it's interesting to look at. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you sent a letter of opposition to the state. So do they impose a goal? So you said the household demand dropped by 18%. Does the state have an overall goal, or they just want every city to conform?
Yeah, so they're going to, the regulations, the final draft came out a week ago. I'll try to distill 44 pages of regulations over conservation into 1 minute. They have a gallons per capita per household target. So every home in California within the next 10 years needs to be down. Let me back up. Not every home. Some will be below this number, some will be above. On average, every home needs to be at 42 gallons per capita per connection. So a household of 3, you'd be 126. I think the math is right there. But then you also get an allowance for your landscape. And so they have all these different things. Our job is to take that 44 pages, be able to work with our customers, and maybe it's something I can get your city manager a little more information so you have a little bit more verse knowledge on it. But yeah, it's our job to distill that to work with our customers. And some will be over, some will be under, some are already under. And so that's our job, is to make sure that we get there together.
Okay, yeah, if you guys could work together, I would just love to see like how far off, if that's what the standard is going to be, I would just like to see how far off that is and kind of what we're asking our residents to accomplish.
Certainly.
Any other questions? All right, awesome, thank you so much. All right, item 1.5, update from Contra Costa Mosquito and Vector Control District. Michael Krieg.
Good evening, Mayor Williams and members of the council. I'm Michael Krieg. I'm Oakley's appointed trustee to the Contra Costa Mosquito and Vector Control District. I'm here this evening to give you a brief update on the district itself and touch on some of our current status. Like that? Yeah. Is that better? Perfect, thank you. The district is a public health agency, first established in 1927 out here in the eastern part of the county. It's grown over the years to encompass the entire county. There's 1 trustee appointed by each of the incorporated cities and 3 by the county supervisors to cover the entire county and the unincorporated areas. The district has a facility in Concord, 35 employees, and our budget for the current fiscal year is just under $10 million. Our focus is on using the best available science and technologies to address specific human health threats that come from diseases transmitted by animals. Most years, controlling West Nile virus is our primary activity, our primary mosquito activity, and we're just entering peak mosquito season. As we heard from the 2 previous speakers, it's been a wet year. Lots of water is a good thing for our water supply, but it's not so good if you're trying to control mosquitoes. So one major indicator of the presence of West Nile is the state dead bird collection program. We ask that citizens who encounter a dead wild bird call either our district office or the state dead bird hotline, and so that the carcass can be collected by our technicians and tested for West Nile disease. As of last Friday, throughout the state, the rate of tests was up about 50% from the same time last year. So the indication is we're going to have a pretty busy West Nile virus season this year. So far, we have had a positive test on a dead bird in our county, but we have not had any human cases yet this year, but it's early. The best thing individuals can do to help is to minimize standing water on property that they control. Mosquitoes can breed in very shallow water, and so if we can keep it dry, that can help solve the problem. If people are struggling with some kind of a situation, such as an untreated hot tub, an untreated swimming pool, we ask that they call the district, and our technicians can come and help with that sort of situation before it gets out of control. In August of '22, so 2 years ago, the district detected a yellow fever mosquito infestation in the city of Martinez. Now, that's not the normal mosquitoes that we have around here, it has not been detected until then. This is the mosquito that carries many diseases, but in particular, it was the one responsible for the Zika outbreak in Florida a few years ago. We really don't want it to become established here, but many of the surrounding counties, it is well established. So far this year, we've not found any sign of that mosquito, but this is the kind of year that can happen. One of the big problems, and the most likely way that mosquito would be introduced, if somebody transports something like a flower pot from a county where those mosquitoes exist, brings it here, and it's full of water. So keeping flower pots and that sort of thing dry is very important to keep these under control. I want to talk for a moment about avian influenza, or bird flu. There have been a number of reports in the news lately about bird flu. Millions of chickens, it's been necessary to cull chickens. It's been found recently in dairy cattle, domestic cats. There have been human cases. Since it's not a disease that's transmitted by an animal vector, it's transmitted the same way as the common cold. It's not in the district's area of responsibility, but if it becomes established here, it could have a big impact on us. And that's because we use flocks of chickens to detect the presence of West Nile virus. There's a flock here in Oakley at Iron House Sanitary. It may seem a little odd, but chickens are kind of amazing in that they have a very strong response and quickly produce antibodies to West Nile virus when they've been bitten by an infected mosquito, but they don't get sick. So we can test them regularly, and with a simple blood test, determine whether there's West Nile virus in the area. If bird flu gets established here, we might not be able to use that technique anymore, so it's something of a concern for us. Finally, I want to talk briefly about our facility. The district's facility in Concord is getting pretty old, and we've been concerned about its status for some time and building a reserve. Earlier this year, late last year, we hired a management company to begin the process of evaluating the facility and seeing what needs to be done to it. They've done a lot of seismic testing, electrical testing, other kinds of things, and it turns out the condition, especially at the office portion of the building, is considerably worse than was anticipated. So we're right on the point now of releasing an RFP to find a design-build entity to make that project move forward. Another major concern we have is with the security of the facility. Unfortunately, we've had problems with vandalism, thefts from vehicles, and that sort of thing. So it looks like it's going to be a much more dramatic project than was originally anticipated, and we are probably going to temporarily relocate the entire facility somewhere else in Central County for as much as a year to 18 months while the existing facility can be updated. That's going to have an impact on our operations, but I have total confidence the folks will make it work, but it's going to be quite a big deal. So just to summarize, it's likely to be a busy year for West Nile. We're concerned about that. We really appreciate assistance from the public in getting reports of mosquito populations that seem to be growing, and also when wild birds are found dead so they can be collected and tested. We haven't seen the yellow fever mosquito in this county for almost 2 years, but it's a new day every morning, and it could happen at any time. We're on the lookout. Bird flu does not come within the scope of our responsibilities, so we are not actively working on that, but it is something that could affect us if it becomes established. And finally, we're about to begin our long-awaited rehabilitation of our property in the city of Concord. May I answer any questions?
Any questions from the council? All right, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will move on to item 2, public comments. At this time, public comments will be heard for items not on the agenda. I have public speaker cards submitted. To submit a public comment, please complete a blue speaker card located in the lobby and submit it to the city clerk over here. The time limit to speak is 3 minutes. The time limit is monitored by the timer located in front of my seat. When 1 minute remains on the timer, it will beep once as a reminder to complete comments before your time expires. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, or other outbursts so that everyone may have an opportunity to be heard. Note that due to provisions of state law, the council may not engage in dialogue regarding comments. Staff may be directed to respond to persons making public comments. And I do have a lot of public speaker cards, so we're going to be really firm about the 3-minute time. All right. I took some liberties because not everybody wrote the non-agenda item, so if it's incorrect, you can correct me when you come up here. But our first one is Roger, I never know your last name. Mammons. I just think there's an R in there.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I happened to talk to Joshua McMurray a while back, and he encouraged me to come back to the City Council and address Delta issues. Our original City Council, which was Brad Nix, Tinker Vanek, Pat Anderson, Jeff Huffaker, they appointed me the unofficial liaison to the City of Oakley and Delta matters, and I was quite active for a long time. However, I've kind of fallen off the wagon and haven't really been here. And I was telling Mr. McMurray that the problem with our Delta is that nobody really knows anything about it. And if they did, they would treasure it more and try to do more about it. I am the past president of the West Delta chapter of the California Striped Bass Association. I am a founding member and secretary of Restore the Delta, and I'm the past president of the Lower Sherman Island Duck Hunters Association. So everything I do is Delta related. Our Delta is home to more than 200 species of birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and more than 20 species of freshwater fish. And the aquatic components of the San Francisco Bay Delta at various times of the year, the size and productivity of the wetlands in the Bay Delta region make them a critical component in sustaining the biodiversity in California. There are a lot of things going on with the Delta, and one of the things that I'm really proud of is that in August 2023, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency issued a decision to accept a civil rights complaint filed by a coalition of tribes and environmental justice organizations, the California Resources Control Board, discriminatory management of water quality in the California San Francisco Bay Delta. So that is still pending. The Delta Protection Advisory Committee is meeting in Big Break on June 4th at the Big Break Center. There's a lot of discussion about water here, and the state and federal agencies operating our water system are killing thousands of fish. They're killing them both at the dams where they don't retain a cold water pool so they can successfully spawn and their reds hatch and the fry make it downstream. And then those that do make it, they're sucked into the pumps at Tracy.
I'm so sorry, your time is up. Can you please give Josh the time of that June 4th Big Break Regional meeting so that more people can get? Perfect.
I'll be back and talk to you some more.
Thank you. I told you I had to be super strict tonight, you guys. Super strict. All right, next I have Melanie Rosales.
Hi, I'm Melanie Rosales. Congrats to the city on their 25th anniversary. My comments are regarding the future location of the Oakley Library and the Oakley Senior Center. I have been an associate member of the Oakley Senior Center since 2019 when I assisted a family friend become a member. I enjoy a few of the weekly activities at the center and the friendships I've made. I'm excited for an improved new Oakley Library location. And I also like the idea of a new permanent home for the Oakley Senior Center being located conveniently near the library. But I have concerns if a new senior center space is not able to be approximately equal to or greater than the current space. I wonder if the new library building could accommodate a 2-story building instead of a 1-story, and then the second story could provide ample space to the senior center. Yes, I acknowledge this would increase cost, parking would need to be ample enough, and an elevator would be required. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mike Castro?
Yes, Oakley Board. I don't believe, we the people don't believe the seniors think you have our best interests at heart. The seniors are the one that made Oakley. The seniors are the one that made the United States. And all the other cities in Contra Costa County have standalone senior centers. We feel that we're not being treated proper. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have William Carpenter.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, and members of the public. I'm not a great speaker, so I ask you to bear with me a little. As a geriatric senior and a retired member of the military, I would like to bring up a couple of issues related to seniors and veterans. I have been told by the city that it is planning to demolish our center building within the next couple of years to build residential units. The replacement suggested for the senior center that has been offered is a couple of rooms in the new library. If this is the case, it is sorely inadequate for the support of the senior center and the activities that it currently performs. My understanding is that 7,000 square feet of the new library is going to be allocated for seniors, while 21,000 square feet will be the new library. During the council meeting of May 21st, with one exception, I would like to have heard the council address the issue of the recreation center and the community center. Both have overlapping functions. One is intended for recreation and one is intended for socialization. However, these differences in purpose are not mutually exclusive. I have a real issue with the majority of City Council members remaining mute on the issues brought up by members of the Senior Center during this May 21st meeting. The council should realize several factors. All of you will be seniors someday, if you're not already. And you will be ailed or have the same ailments and disabilities that go along with aging. Senior centers in most California cities are controlled and funded by these cities, while Oakley is not. Instead of the city funding projects that overlap and/or could be combined, our growing senior population deserves the funding of a center that is large enough to be responsive to our unique needs and abilities. Often seniors have little opportunity to socialize with their peers and participate in activities that are in tune with these unique abilities and disabilities. Many seniors have little opportunity to be among those of their generation and background. In closing, I would like to point out that a group, many of whom are forgotten, are the veterans who gave up much for our country. Many of them are not only disabled with some disabilities not viewable, but are senior as well. Don't you, the members of our City Council, agree that they too should be included in the planning, funding, and space necessary for their activities? I believe that both groups, the seniors and the veterans, should have the support of the city, as in the case with most communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Diane Merritt.
Yeah, Yes, thank you very much for letting me speak. I'm Diane Merritt, Mayor, council members, and guests. This is pertaining to the new Oakley Library that is being built and how it affects many of our Oakley seniors. Oakley Senior Center is the only entity under Oakley that particularly caters to seniors. We don't see the city doing any other outreach to help seniors. We also don't turn anyone away who is not a senior. Okay, and that's mainly about the food distribution program. We don't turn anyone else away. The city of Oakley does so much for our residents, and we appreciate that very much. Seniors need the city's support in every senior program. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna take a couple liberties and I'm going to move item 7.1B up here, which is the item relating to the Oaks, because I'm assuming that all the rest of the public comments are in regards to that, since they all mentioned the Oaks. So we're going to move that item up. First, we're gonna take the public comments, and then we'll get the report from Oak. So is everybody on the council good with that?
What are you moving up?
7.1B.
7.1B, report from the Oaks Apartments.
Correct, yeah. And all of the agenda items seem to be, all of the rest of the public comments seem to be relating to that. So we're going to take those public comments and then we'll turn it over to Oak to speak.
As a point of order, we should complete public comment on any issues unrelated to item 7B if there is.
I think I just went through all of them, yeah. Okay, thank you. All of the rest of them say Oak's apartment input, so I'm assuming.
So then then the council will be concluding public comment and now jumping to item 7B.
Correct. All right, and then we'll go back, but I don't want to make people wait if they're here to speak on that item. All right, so 7.1B, our first public comment is from Barbara Bautista.
You had to call me first.
Sorry, you were the first one to get a card in.
My name is Barbara Bautista, and I live at the Oaks in Building 81, senior building. And I was on the ad hoc committee and said that I would come back each time to give sort of the tenant side of what we think is going on. The first thing I wanted to do, though, under the circumstances, was to commend the Wynn Corporation for the way that they reacted to the 67 flooding and the elevator stopping and how they reacted to the tenants. I thought they did, I don't know what else they could have done other than to get the, rooms, they got them food, went back, got medication for them. I mean, really well done, and it was full staff on board during a holiday weekend, so it was impressive. It is a terrible thing for the seniors to be displaced like that, but that does happen. The things that are happening there, I think the garbage situation is sort of smoothing out. Our building seems to be pretty good and we're not having any major problems. Some of the other buildings are, and to me that's not so much management, but it's partly tenant also not throwing the garbage where it should be. So it's sort of working out. Would I like the, what do you call them? The chutes reopened? Absolutely. Absolutely. I still am sort of weird about that one, but I think they should be open for people who can't get down, because I'm not quite sure the picking up of garbage if you need help is working totally, because I hear a lot of comments on that. We are having community meetings, which I appreciate on a monthly basis, and that's happened for a couple months now. The one thing that is missing is, I think now if we can incorporate on the ground manager that's there, because she doesn't attend those meetings, I think that that would help the connection between the tenants and relating to the manager. They don't see her at these things, and it gets a little confusing after a while of why not. People are pretty open, so I don't think they'd be afraid to say anything. I think that's important to a lot of people. They want to see more of the actual manager there, along with what's going on. And things are getting done, things aren't getting done. So it's time, will take time. Maintenance, they're cleaning and they're doing maintenance. I'm not quite sure that's working as well, because they're rushing through things, trying to get to the maintenance part. So the total cleaning isn't quite at where it should be, but I think.
I'm sorry, I've got to be so strict today. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Cut me off? No.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, next we have Maxwell Akba, I believe.
Evening. Before I begin, I would just want to let you know I have a funny accent. I'm a French-speaking person, but I will try my best to make myself understood. Anyway, I want to talk about the issue going on with 767 building in the Oaks apartment. The young lady has displayed all aspects of the issue going on, but I'm not sure if there is any kind of emergency preparedness. Should something like this occur, so that senior as we are, we should know what to do, what kind of step we should take. Because Sunday, I was in that building, in my apartment, at 11 o'clock, getting ready to take a shower. And then a fire department, an agent came in, knocked on my bedroom door, asked me to get out. Where am I going? No answer. Why? You just need to get out. I obeyed to their instruction. I went down and waiting for them. Any answer, any information. I have seen some senior who cannot even walk out. Those to provide a temporary place for them were only those who cannot walk. I have seen some people standing there. They have to call their family coming from all over the places, pick them up, and drop them to the different location. I was there till 7 o'clock. No person from the office to ask, what should I do? Where am I going? I had to call church member who accept to accommodate me. It's only Monday at 11 o'clock, I received a call from the office asking about my location. That's not fair. That's not the way we should be treated. So I'm asking, is there any emergency preparedness? Next time, should something like this transpire so that we can take a proper action? Thank you.
Thank you. Kuna Madhu? Oh, can you walk up here? If not, we can bring a microphone to you. Thank you. It's on record, so it needs to be picked up by the microphone.
Good evening, everyone. So, he have already said what I want to say. So there is no need me come to say the same thing all over again. So that's why we're here. I live in 67 building, and I've been having problem. But anyway, like I said, I can't repeat what he said because that is the same thing I want to say. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Mary Durag, I'm so sorry for pronunciations.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Mary Octavia Duro. I live at the Oaks and Building 59, the senior building. I'm here to say, why is the Oaks allowed to violate I don't know the codes. They have emergency calls where the elevator don't work. Several senior citizens live on the higher floors. 4, 3. I don't know if it's illegal for you to be handicapped and not live on the bottom floor. Seniors have fallen and been hurt. They're spoken to subhuman. Both myself and my husband, he's here, he's a PhD. Both of us, I'm a graduate of UC Berkeley. You're talked to subhuman by the manager. She's a bully. The seniors have a spirit of fear. All of them should be here tonight, and I came because my husband and I, we will be moving from the Oaks, and we could afford to move from the Oaks. I'm here to speak for those that are afraid to speak, and I think the city of Oakland should, Oakley should check the codes. They closed the garbage chutes. Seniors cannot throw the garbage in the big dumpster on the main floor. It was convenient when the chutes was open. So I'm hoping that it's a change in the management of the Oaks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, this says, I wish to speak and I do not wish to speak. Brenda Strode, you can just tell me you don't want to speak, or if you do. Okay.
I live in Building 81. I'm Brenda Strode. I don't have a whole lot to say, except I think management should be able to attend the meetings that we're having and things. And we're having a problem with landscaping, and don't have a whole lot to say. I've been there 13 years, and I don't see all these problems these people see. That's about all I can say.
Thank you so much. All right, and finally we have Dr. Raymond Duro. Now I can say the last name.
First, I'd like to acknowledge the mayor, the council members, city manager, and the city attorney. I'm here to represent the little people that are at the Oaks apartment. Essentially, what I see is that the people, when you go down and you're attempting to get help for a repair, it's a hostile, confrontive environment that you experience. And what I believe should happen, the person told me that there are 900 units there plus, and they don't have enough staff to manage the repairs. So consequently, we should see something between, say, 3 to 5 days. I've had things between 3 to 6 months waiting for someone to repair something that's simple. So if they would hire, say, 2 or 3 more service people, and whenever you get a request, not have it be angry, but a place where you can make a request. You don't have any reprisals taken against you. You're not afraid that you're going to be evicted out of the apartment and be able to get the help that you need in a civil and appropriate fashion. That's my request. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that looks like the end of the submitted cards. Anyone can still submit if they would like to, but I think now we'll receive the report from Oaks Apartment.
Good evening. My name is Oak Johnson. I'm the Executive Vice President for Wynn Residential, an affordable housing operator here in Oakley. We do manage the Oaks Apartments. I'm here tonight to address questions regarding the monthly report on the Oak Grove apartment complex, as well as the incident that occurred this past weekend. Before I do that, I would like to provide a specific update regarding Saturday. This morning, the incident resulted in the relocation of 42 households from the Oak Grove Senior Terrace Apartments. This morning, PG&E restored power to the community, and we worked with the city inspectors and fire officials to assess all building and life safety systems, including the elevator. It was determined that it was safe to turn the electricity back on in the building and allow residents to return. Unfortunately, a switch is needed to complete the repairs to the elevator. Our contractor is doing everything possible to have that part in hand and complete the repairs tomorrow morning. Residents who require the use of the elevator have been asked to stay in their hotel until it is repaired. We have made contact, and to date, as of the start of this meeting, 8 residents will be returning to the community this evening. I want to stress that despite initial reports and gossip, residents were never in harm's way on Sunday, and the property management staff responded immediately to keep residents comfortable and calm. 36 senior households were relocated to 3 area hotels on Sunday evening, and 5 others stayed with family and friends after local officials ordered power shutoff due to the apartment building over concern from water that from a clogged wastewater line could penetrate the electrical panel in the building's elevator. The clog in the line on the first floor caused water to back up and overflow into a vacant second-floor apartment located adjacent to the elevator shaft above the elevator control room. The property staff had been in that very apartment on Friday, showing it to a prospective tenant. At that time, there were no issues. Fire and city officials acted on Sunday with an abundance of caution based on the information they had at the time. We first learned of the issue at 8:34 a.m. on Sunday when our on-call technician received a call from a concerned resident. The technician lives on site and got to the building very quickly. He tried but was unable to reset the elevator. He then went floor to floor, checking for anyone who might be trapped in the elevator, but no one was found. He contacted the property manager, who called the elevator company. To repeat, no one was ever trapped in the building elevator. An inspection of the elevator and electrical equipment by an electrician found no evidence of water coming into contact with the elevator's control panel or electrical service. Unless residents were in an unauthorized or restricted location within the building, they were not exposed to any wastewater. The leak was restricted to 1 apartment, 1 electrical room, and 1 elevator room, all of which are locked and not available to the general public. No water entered occupied apartments or common areas, and the wastewater line was cleared on Sunday. All sewage lines in the building were hydrojetted today. Immediately after the property was red tagged, management staff began gathering residents in a nearby community room and ordered food, water, and snacks for them. By 4 p.m. on Sunday, the management team had arranged hotel stays for all residents who needed them. They also worked with the residents to retrieve personal items from their apartments, and in some cases, personally drove them to their hotels late Sunday afternoon and into the evening. The property staff also worked with residents for pet care, and in some instances, our team fed cats that would not leave the building. A security service has been protecting the building and the residents' apartments during the overnight hours since Sunday. Staff has been delivering lunch and dinner to the residents on Sunday, Monday, and today, and have maintained constant contact with all households impacted by the incident. We have called residents daily to inquire if they need any toiletries or necessities or medications, and to make sure we can meet their dietary restrictions whenever possible. We keep a detailed log of this interaction to ensure that we have accurate information on all residents and to avoid misinformation regarding those individuals. That log is available for review. On Monday, management staff delivered a $300 gift card to each of the household in the hotels for incidentals and the cost of replacing food that may have spoiled in their refrigerators due to the power outage. Residents are not being charged for their hotel stay and will receive a partial credit on their June rent due to the incident. We will also help file claims for those with renter's insurance. We are grateful for the cooperation and support we received from Mayor Williams, Vice Mayor Shaw, from area hotel operators who accommodated pets on short notice, and for the vendors who mobilized quickly to help us. We are also thankful for other members of the community who stepped up to take care of their seniors. We also want to express gratitude to the affected residents who, by and large, have maintained a positive and helpful attitude throughout this unfortunate situation. Most of all, I personally want to thank and publicly commend the property management and maintenance staff who acted immediately to make the safety and welfare of residents their first priority in an emergency over a holiday weekend. We had effectively a full staff on both Sunday and Monday. Our efforts to return the property to normal operations are ongoing this evening as we welcome residents home, and they will continue in the days ahead. So that's the specific update regarding the events that happened. Happy to answer any other questions or any questions regarding the written report that was provided earlier.
Vice Mayor Shaw?
One quick question. You said the $300 gift cards are going to all the residents that are staying in hotels. What about the 5 that are?
So they were delivered to the residents in the hotels, and then we have the others in the office. We're coordinating delivery to those individuals when we see them.
Thank you.
Councilmember Meadows?
Do you know what caused the backup?
It seemed to just be sludge. The lines were hydrojetted and also camered, and no specific debris was located. So it seemed to be a normal backup. As a result, we flushed all of the other stacks in that building as a precautionary measure.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fuller?
Yes, tell me more about the senior building.
Well, that is the senior building. That's where that took place.
But what is a senior building?
So this building is, I believe it's 55 plus. So in order to, there are rules that in order to qualify, you have to meet certain rules.
Why are they all together at 55 plus in one building?
That's a program that is outlined by, I believe it was originally set up by Congress. It's overseen by HUD. That outlines there's a couple of different senior type buildings. You can have 55 plus. You can have.
Why wouldn't I consider that discriminatory?
You might, but we didn't draft the legislation. We just follow a program that's outlined by HUD, and it's how the building was funded and is regulated.
I'll comment later.
And just for context for everybody who is watching this online or here in the audience, so this report that the Oaks is about to give is a regularly scheduled report. This was an unfortunate incident that happened in advance of this, so we're giving him extra time to sort of review and cover it. But I just want everybody to know this. He's not here because of the incident that happened. It is a regular occurrence where we get updates on this throughout. That was part of the ad hoc committee requirement. So just for context for anybody watching or in the audience who's maybe not be aware of it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Meadows.
So are you going to say anything about the report that you provided, or are we just going to ask questions?
If you've got questions, I figure reading it word for word is probably not ideal. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them if I can.
Okay, so I believe Vice Mayor Shaw and I last time had asked for, I want to know how long it's taken you to close service tickets.
Yeah, so the
That's
first,
not in here.
it's not in there. And so when I pulled that information, we use a software, it's called RealPage, is the name of the software that we use. And as we pulled the software, we're having trouble differentiating between types of work orders. So for example, we'll have a preventative maintenance work order in there, and that work order might sit in there, might get created in January, but it's to change a filter in June. And so it sits there for 6 months before it gets closed. It's not ideal, it's terrible, and I'm working with our Senior Vice President of Facilities back east to be able to resolve that issue so that I can provide those accurate numbers.
Vice Mayor Shaw.
Just a suggestion, and I do preventative maintenance at my facility. On the first of the month that it's supposed to be done is when it gets entered into the system. And then we can run a report, average turnover time, total work orders turned in, total work orders completed. And then it can be broken out, preventative maintenance, electrical, plumbing. I mean, I've used RealPage. I know that's capable of doing that. It's not what I use now, but they're all made for that. So I would still like to know what the average turnover time for a work order turned in today, what our averages are.
Absolutely.
And I do appreciate the report showing how many were done in the month and how many were turned in, because it does show that backlog is being completed. But it would be nice to know how much backlog is still there.
Understood.
I had a couple, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I agree with all that. I mean, I use a different software, but I mean, and you know, maybe we're small, and we're looking to automate everything that we can. And I don't understand why you guys wouldn't be. It kind of blows me away. So, I mean, I think you need to work on it, And if you got bad data, I mean, that's on you guys, show it.
Understood.
I had a couple questions, some follow-ups from the last time. They covered some of it. I wanted to know the actual numbers. But you have all these different ongoing enhanced services, right? And I brought this up last time. There's after-school programming, there's scholarships, there's adult programming. I want to know how many people are utilizing those services. Same with food security. I want to know, I mean, obviously you don't have to give us the names of people, but I want to know how many residents this is benefiting and what that's going to. That was point one. I wish that was included in this report. The other one is, so we obviously have some ongoing issues that are still happening, right? We have members of the public who are here commenting on that. So a lot of this stuff is outside of what the city can control and enforce and work with. So you mentioned earlier that this is, Congress sort of defined the rules for what the building is, and there's a state agency that's in charge of oversight. So what I would like is if these reports could include, because I know all the different funding sources have all kinds of different requirements and different things that are getting submitted. So what I would like is, I would like to understand what kind of oversight is coming from the state or federal or wherever other places, because the city doesn't have oversight over those programs. I don't need to see a copy of the report, but I want to know what types of things the state is looking for and when those certifications are happening. So if, there's 50 units that have to be randomly inspected and it has to be done this time and turned into the state, I want to know that, and I want to know when it was turned into the state. I don't care to see the report for what happened at each unit, but at some point, there has to be some accountability for funding coming from the state, and so I would like to see when those certifications are happening so that, if we're having ongoing issues that people are struggling with and coming to the city for help that we have no oversight on, I just want to be able to say, well, here's what the state requires, and here's when it was submitted to the state. Vice Mayor Shaw.
I wanted to address one of the issues that was brought up during public comment and just maybe give you an opportunity. When we asked you to start doing these meetings with the residents, we wanted it to be like our ad hoc meetings. So I really appreciate the upper staff being there. But for now, this is kind of the third time I've heard it, that the on-site staff isn't there. Is there anything, sorry, I hear that too. Is there any reason, or if you even want to address that?
Yeah, sure. So there are other meetings that take place. The one that's specifically being referred to, we gave it the moniker Coffee with Katie. It's once a month. Katie's the regional property manager. She sits down with the residents and gives them an audience. So that's her as the supervisor, off-site sort of corporate level supervisor. There are other resident events that take place on a monthly basis as well. And actually for the month of June, we're replacing Coffee with Katie, where I'm going to be there. So I'm going to be meeting with the residents individually, so that they can interact with me like they were previously in the ad hoc. And so we'll probably do that quarterly. We'll all come and sit with them as well. The Coffee with Katie, for lack of a better way to say it, that monthly meeting is designed to not include the local property staff on purpose. Like I said, there are those other opportunities for them to speak with the staff.
So they have opportunities to meet with the on-site staff through other avenues.
Yes.
You want this to be more of a safe space that they can bring things above local management to
Yes.
upper management. Okay, thank you.
Exactly.
But there is something scheduled regularly where, because it makes sense where you would, if there's issues that you're having with managers, it does make sense to potentially, not necessarily with the management, but issues that are happening at the location.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a way for the citizen forum or whatever it's being called to have that direct interaction, or is it
Absolutely,
relying on
100%.
residents to chase them down?
I will confirm. I didn't, and actually the meeting dates were in the
I saw,
update.
yeah.
So that I believe in May we had that opportunity where they had a community meeting outside of the regional manager meeting.
Okay, yeah, it says on this, May 17th with upper management next, so I'm assuming that's Coffee with Katie.
Yeah.
And then another one is held June 21st. And then it said April 23rd with office management, so that should have been on-site management, April 23rd. Okay, so I guess
Yeah, so there's the regular opportunities.
Okay. Okay. Councilmember Fuller?
Yes, in my part, yes, I do find it discriminatory. I would like you to come back and explain why seniors are in one building. I find that highly discriminatory. Seniors have less of a ability to fight with management. They have illnesses that that are easily can be interfering with their ability to negotiate. If they're easy to actually abuse and treat in a very uncivil manner, with nobody coming back, with management, with no place to turn, especially in a place where many of them are, from what I understand, have no place else to go in terms of it, or if they do, it's very difficult. So now they're living in a building where I'm hearing in here they are abused. They're not getting the services that they are. We had to emergency evacuate them, put them up, and every time I turn around, we're in this. Not only would I like to hear what the situation is, why they're there, but if there's not required by law, which I find very unusual, that they be dispersed back into the buildings. Because my thoughts are, if they are inclusive with inside all of the buildings there, all of the tenants are going to be working together, even the younger ones that are more able to stand up with management and articulate than what they're doing now by being segregated in the 55 years old. The only time I can ever think of, besides voluntary, that you would move involuntary a person as senior is for nursing care or hospice. But this I don't get, and I would like our city to respond and see what it is. We do operate, we are getting profits, or supposed to be getting profits. We are in a management position of some type, so I would like to know what the city legal position is, and I know that this is going on, and is it lawful, and to me, it's discriminatory, maybe. So I'll end with that.
I'm going to turn it over to Vice Mayor Shaw, and then if there's anything to add.
Okay, so any senior can apply to live in a family building. They can live in any building. There are designated buildings for seniors if that is what they choose, because people under that age then cannot live in that building. So that's a choice. They can choose to be in the family building. They can apply, they can choose, they can live in family housing. They choose to go into a building that is just for seniors because sometimes they don't want to be mixed with seniors. And I manage a 62 and above housing facility.
Can you explain that further?
Let me
Can
let
they
her
move
finish.
into it next to
Let
somebody
me
that's
finish.
21 or
I'm going to
22
let her
years
finish
old?
her comment.
No, you
Yes.
keep talking, I just brought
I'm
it up.
going to
and now
finish.
You're defending them, so I would like
I'm
the
not
answer from
defending them. I'm
management.
giving you the answer that why this is
Why
put
can't
in place.
management give the answer?
Because
That's
it's
the
her
problem.
turn
We
to make
keep allowing
comments.
us to give the answer.
It's her turn to make comments.
I also wanted to comment about the elevators and allowing people with disabilities to only live on first floors. That would be discriminatory. We have to allow a resident to live where they choose to live. We provide, anybody, an elevator is provided so they have that access. So to tell somebody that because they have a disability they can only live on a certain floor would be violating their rights. So I wanted to make that clear as well. So seniors can live in any building. Younger than seniors cannot live in senior buildings.
Well, I'm not hearing that, so I would like clarification from management when they come back. Give us some numbers.
Okay. I mean, would you like me to clarify now, or so this building is 55 plus. Families are not allowed to live in the building, so to speak. It's just as Vice Mayor Shaw described. We have buildings on the community where anyone is allowed to live, anyone can apply, as long as they qualify for the program that regulates that particular building. In this building, Building 67, it is a senior building, and so you have to meet the requirements of the 55 plus program in order to live there.
Okay, what I'm saying is, thank you very much, Councilmember Shaw, but I'm not hearing
Vice
it
Mayor
from
Shaw.
you. So I want to hear it from you in writing that this is where they should be go. I'm not hearing that. I'm not seeing that.
I'm
from
happy to
management.
provide. I'll provide I'll provide a definition of the program and how that particular building was funded and approved and paid for, and we can provide all that with the next update. Yes.
Thank you, management.
Great. I mean, that would kind of go along with that request that I was asking earlier about state requirements, right? There's different requirements for each of the different funding sources. And so I think those two things would potentially go hand in hand. Vice Mayor Shaw mentioned something that was brought up in public comment a couple times, and I do want to address a couple of them as well. You don't have to have an answer because obviously it just happened in public comment, but I know the trash chutes have continuously been brought up. So I would like to have some sort of answer on the next one about what the long-term solution, I mean, if you have it now,
I can
let's
speak
go.
to what we're doing now. So, yeah, the trash chutes were closed, as everybody knows. We actually just replaced the compactor. It was in the update. We got new trash bins that are towed all over the property to bring stuff to the compactor, which is great. The trash service has been working generally very well as designed right now. We're finding much less trash building up in the community. The trash rooms are cleaner. They're no longer a hazard. We have, I believe the number is either 6 or 8 individuals who are in the, they can be in any building, but are in the senior building that have requested assistance. And we effectively provide concierge trash service to those individuals. We go pick up trash from them when they have it. That's something we're still perfecting, for lack of a better way to say it. We tried, originally it was just gonna be a schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll come get your trash. Trash doesn't have such a good schedule. So we're trying to make sure that we do that and provide that service for them. So far for those individuals, we believe that it's working well, and we'll continue down that effort. We think it's been a big positive for the community overall.
Okay, so, but you guys are receptive and open to feedback if it's not working, if these folks are feeling
Absolutely.
like they're, okay.
Absolutely.
And then one other thing that was brought up that, I did get involved like fairly early, probably, because that's who I am. And so, but this emergency preparedness thing, like I would like to let everybody know, like it was a huge disaster that you guys were dealing with. And, when I was talking to everyone, I did feel like sincerely there was a want to not pull people out of their homes unnecessarily. I know just from talking to the seniors that were put in the hotels and stuff, many of them did not want to go. And so I do feel like there was, sort of that struggle, right? Like you have to do the right thing. Some of them don't want to go. Maybe it's not necessary. And I think there was some indecision or, there was not the clear need right at the beginning, but that brought up a very valid point about emergency preparedness, right? Like think about how many times we do earthquake drills and stuff as schools. So what sort of plan is in place because like you said, it was a holiday weekend. It was all hands on deck. I mean, I was there a long time and so was all the staff. Like there was a lot of staff there. So I did feel like people were responding and were open to responding, answering my calls. I mean, I got to give a shout out to Erin because she's got many messages from me. So, I think it is important to acknowledge that this was something out of the ordinary. And I do think that, maybe the response was clunky, but who can really plan for this without an emergency plan? So I think I would just like to have some idea of, in the future, should something like this happen and buildings need to be evacuated, can there be like a clear-cut plan that the residents understand? Because maybe staff does, but as we all know, working in city government, we can have the best laid plans, but if it's not communicated in a way that people can understand, it doesn't really count. So I think that's my request, is have some sort of way that these folks know in an emergency situation, here's what's gonna happen. Obviously, every emergency will vary, but that's just my request. You don't have to have a rebuttal or a response right now, but I would just like to have some sort of plan in place should something like this ever need to happen again.
We absolutely agree. We think it opened our eyes to, we do this down in other parts of the state where there's more earthquake activity. Mm-hmm. So they have what's called a shakeout. And so quite frankly, we're going to steal that mantra. We've got a property manager there that's fantastic in putting that together every year, and have her help us design a program specifically here for this community for all the different buildings, because each building will be a little bit different. We do have emergency plans in place, but in an emergency, unless you practice it, it comes across very clunky, as it's a good word. So.
All right, Vice Mayor Shaw.
Quick on the trash. One was, have you denied any requests for people asking for that accommodation?
Not that I'm aware of, and if we have, then they absolutely should reach out to me directly.
Okay, so anyone out there that may have requested and is not getting that, they can reach
They
out to you.
should absolutely reach out to me directly.
And then during the flooding situation, there was a something in about a fire in a compactor.
We're still unaware of what that fire was. None of
But
our...
there was,
We don't know if there was or not. None of our staff is aware of it. We didn't receive a report of it.
the fire department, I think, had mentioned it. Okay.
We
that's
haven't
fine.
received anything that said there was a fight.
And
We
that-
saw that same reporting, and
Okay, and then, we learn from everything, right? So as my thing is this may not have been perfect, but if we can learn from it and take from it, then, and by we again, I mean you.
Yep.
But, yes, so I agree, there was staff on site. I went to the site as well and tried to do what I can to help, whether that's overstepping or not, I'm not sure, but we were there with good intentions and wanting to make sure the residents were, knowing that everybody cares, management cared, city cared, and so I do appreciate the staff that did come on, and they were unchaining the building to let people in one by one to get belongings and picking up medication specifically for tenants that requested it. So I don't want to just focus on what went wrong. I just want to, there was some things that went right as well.
thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions, I think you're done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going back in order of the agenda, so we're moving back on to council member comments. Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, I have several comments. First, they're absolutely right. The seniors have been mistreated in this city. The ageism exists. I've heard Councilmember Shaw say that there should be nobody my age on the dais because we're too old to really think. There is a comment where she said, we got to have young people because they will bring it in. Eventually, she relented on that and said, well, we could have one, thank you very much, but that's still discriminatory. And then we have people answering for the seniors who've already brought up that they're being discriminated against, basically because they don't think we're competent enough to really understand what's happening to us. So it does exist, and we do not honor them. This city is just shameful where we don't have something adequate for them. As far as veterans, that is a very, very important subject. There were 1 million, I don't know the name of the program, but if you were in Iraq or Agent Orange in Vietnam or the burn pits in Iraq and the Middle East wars, that you can file for possible disabilities that resulted from it. I'm very attuned to that. I'm in the Camp Lejeune group. We are waiting very anxiously, but I don't think we'll go very far very quickly. And it's very personal to me because my daughter died a year ago from pancreatic cancer at the age of 50. There is no history in our family of pancreatic cancer, so I'm very concerned that somehow things got screwed up when I was in Camp Lejeune drinking the toxic water and it passed on. So we need to be aware of that. Yes, the Delta is something that's just, when I was on the Delta Protection Committee, it's very important to understand. It's hard to understand what the Delta is. Eric Vink did good. There are some, but that is a very important resource. But you're right, it has to be treated with understanding and care, including the conveyance project. Of course, I'm astounded. I just don't know what to think. Somebody left here from the dais without notifying all the people on the council or the city and decided to become a envoy in a hostile foreign country with foreign agents. But that's something else. I'm still working on that. And finally, regarding Anissa or Councilmember Williams, she had a report in her little blog. Please remember, that's not official. She is not official. That lady is official after we vote on it. After we vote on it. So if you see something there, she said that I suggested that we take money away from the Cypress Road expansion, when in fact I asked a question. But obviously we don't get along and things get a little wacky sometimes in there. So always remember the official minutes after they approved are always available online. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Shaw?
I am so happy that you mentioned my comment about people on the dais, seniors, because there's been so many comments that have been made, and I want to clarify them. So I campaign, I raise funds. Yes, I got a donation for DeNova. I returned it. You accused me of laundering my campaign funds. False. I respond to comments made by you or put out a statement, and you accuse me of a gaslighting atmosphere and returning to the Montgomery era. For the record, I have never met Brian Montgomery. I've never worked with the city at any time Brian Montgomery was on the as a city manager, so that is false. I make a suggestion to the police department regarding the 4th of July firework enforcement, and I'm accused by you of micromanaging our police chief. Again, false. I attend a special meeting regarding a new design of the 55-acre park as instructed by the consultant. The council was asked to go to the easel, give their input, and I was accused by you of badgering residents into accepting my opinion. Again, false. When we made an affordable housing ad hoc committee to address Carroll Lane, and you said we weren't holding them accountable. I was assigned to the library subcommittee, and you claim we're not being transparent. I work with a service club, and now I'm being accused of a Rotary voting block. When I bring up that we raise council pay so we can attract a wide range of talent and not have 5 people up here that are able to sit on their retirement, that's so I can expand it to everybody, you accuse me of being an ageist. When I do my research before a councilman meeting and can choose to print my full agenda packet, place it in a binder, and bring it to a meeting, you accuse me of having some sort of inside information. When I talk to constituents, especially ones that you do not like, you accuse us of rendezvous and collaborating. Again, false. And I have your statements, your comments, your blog, and your Nextdoor post printed for every single one of these false statements. I would be happy to share them. When I ask for a future agenda item to discuss all ways that we can hold each other accountable, you accuse me of working to censure you. Again, false. I never use those words. Now we have an issue that I didn't announce the vice mayor on a trip to China. Well, guess what? It is not my job to discuss her whereabouts. My job as vice mayor is to do things in her place when she is unavailable, and I did just that. Obviously, we don't get along, as you just said about Williams, but I asked you to go to coffee so we can figure out how to work together for the betterment of this city, and it has been nothing but crickets. I would like to work with every single person here. I guess I can't work with other council members or have a good relationship with staff, discuss things with constituents. I shouldn't engage with consultants. I shouldn't advocate for things that matter to me, and I shouldn't be a part of service clubs. I shouldn't print my agenda, and apparently I shouldn't give my opinion at meetings. I get that you're not going to change how you do things, but neither am I. So I would like to be able to do my job the way I want to see fit and how I was hired to do it. Thank you.
Okay, I obviously have comments today. There's a couple things that I want to clarify. 3 of us that are sitting up here were elected at large. We have a responsibility to the city as a whole. And I think it's imperative that while we have switched to district, the only people representing districts today are these 2 over here. The rest of us are elected at large. So we have to make decisions for the whole city. We can't campaign to a future district. We need to make the decisions for the whole city. As far as my trip to China, which is going to have a full recap later this evening and did have a press release that went out. First and foremost, the most important thing to know is that not 1 cent of taxpayer money was spent, nor would I spend a single taxpayer cent. I take every trip I take for the city, very important, and I weigh the cost analysis and what will come to the city. There is no way, even if I thought from this trip we would get all 4,000 jobs lined up, there is still no way that I would put that expense on the city. I'm very sorry that I am currently the mayor who is asked to perform this duty, as many others have asked, and many of the people who are in very high elected official positions today have gone on this trip since 2014. There is no reporting ahead of a trip that I need to give. I think it's very indicative that that request has never come before any of the domestic travel. I've also received many, many messages from our AAPI community about how they feel that this response that's come to this is just a reflection of how they're welcomed in Oakley, and I take that seriously. I think that should not be a reflection of how we treat people because we have some foreign enemy in our head. There was not a large press release done beforehand because what if I went on this trip and there was not one thing that came of it? I did go on that trip and they presented a lot of outstanding opportunities that I had no idea about, and that when I get to my council member reports later, we'll discuss it. But I would invite my colleagues on this dais to refocus their energy away from negative campaigning for their next election and roll up their sleeves and actually do some work in the city. Actually do some work. All right, we are moving on to item 4, consent calendar. Does anybody have anything to pull? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Yes, I do have something to withdraw. Actually, I do.
Okay.
I have 4.3, 4.5, and 4.7. If you would. 4.3, 4.5, 4.7.
Okay, Councilmember Meadows, did you want to move the remainder?
I do.
Second.
Oh, okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 5-0. All right, 4.3.
I like the forthright that you put in there. This is to save costs, but it's still the same question that I had on previous contracts of city services. Why can't we enhance our own employees to be able to deliver more skills, perhaps raise their income? I worry because since 1990, this has been a situation involving cities looking for ways to drive down city employees' ability to negotiate and come up with things, and it bothers me sincerely. So I'm not hearing the answer why we can't train them and then renegotiate their contracts that we include their services with them. You can answer the same thing for 4.5 on on-call testing.
I think we have to take them one by one since they were pulled.
You should vote on them separately, but you can have a single discussion if it relates to the same matter.
Okay.
That's fine.
Mayor Williams, Vice Mayor Shaw, members of the council. This question that Councilmember Fuller, we discussed this previously. As a part of our operation, public works operation, as I've stated in reports, we offer a wide range of services, and my approach is trying to provide the best service for the community, best both in terms of functionality and economics for the city. In no way, Councilmember Fuller, I want to make sure we're very clear, no way we are trying to push any staff down and not let them give growth opportunity. It is far from it. We are cross-training our entire staff. First of all, we have a limited staff. This in Oakley is not Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose that have hundreds, thousands of employees. We have just handful of employees, dedicated professional men and women working hard each and every day, taking care of the business of this community. So our approach has been, let's try to put the best product we can for the community while providing opportunities for all of our staff to cross-train. Our entire maintenance team, over the past year, we've been cross-training from streets to facilities to parks. So in case somebody is ill, we can backfill and cover. Item 4.3, this is regarding HVAC, heating and air conditioning maintenance service. These are specialized work. Yes, you could assign a staff, send it to training, become a HVAC technician. That's a specialized work. That's not something we do every day. We have quarterly service, we have monthly service. Our day-to-day bread and butter work is what all of our staff do across from a city. These are some specialized work that we need frequently or infrequently, and that's why we bring contractors on board. And by the way, this model is many municipalities use this model. It is not unique to Oakley. We've done it for the past many years, and again, we've been successful providing good service at a good cost point.
Well, okay, but I'm going to vote no on both of them, 4.3, 4.5, because I'm not convinced that we really are trying hard enough to allow our employees to participate in this decision to bring in and perhaps contribute their own expertise to be trained to complement. So I will vote no on both of them.
Councilmember Fuller, our employees, our staff, the public works staff contribute each and every day. Some of these are more sophisticated maintenance tasks that yes, you'd need to get certification through each of these categories, and yes, you could send somebody, but it's just not in our operation to be able to have one staff dedicated for each of these things. But I understand your position.
Thank you for your input.
Vice Mayor Shaw?
Okay, 2 questions. If we have to hire or train someone in-house to do this specialty, it would be at a higher rate. And then when they had to do day-to-day operations or more, kind of the minutia of things that have to be filled in, wouldn't we still have to pay them that much higher rate even if they were emptying a garbage can?
Yes, because it's going to be very difficult to bring an individual at this level and say, well, today I don't have this level of work. Just from a practicality, it's just impossible.
And then, so following up on that, is there enough of this specific type of work for a full-time employee to have something to do if you had someone with that specialized training? What, day-to-day, every day, 8 hours?
No, it's not only in Oakley, any other city this size, our neighboring cities. I mean, HVAC, we provide quarterly service of all of our facilities. Civic Center campus, we have 4 major facilities that get service. That's a quarter, and we do yearly service. So to your point, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, no.
Okay, but within your department, you still have cross-training and advancement and educational opportunities.
Correct, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a similar question because I see on here that the HVAC is $18,000 that we're looking to spend on this. Do you have any employee who would be able to survive on $18,000 annually?
No.
Yeah, not in Oakley. Okay, and then so say we got everybody certified in this. Are there people right now who are in our public works who are working, let's say 32 hours, but they would like to go to 40? Do we even have that structure right now where we could afford to put somebody else in for 8 hours of doing this? Do we have the ability or flexibility with our current employees to do that?
We do not. We don't have anybody working less than 40 hours.
Okay, so if we did not contract this out, we would be asking our public works employees to either work much longer hours or hire somebody for $18,000 annually, is how I'm reading this report. For this particular one, the other one was $75,000, so maybe that one isn't okay annual, but this one particularly.
It is impossible for any of us who in the maintenance business to find a technician for $18,000 a year.
Okay.
And also, again, I call it the more sophisticated. I mean, it's not just changing a filter. Yeah, we change filter in our houses. The HVAC units on all of our facilities, units above us on the roof, throughout our facilities, we want to make sure they're functional and they last. So there's a lot more than just changing a filter. All our electronics, the compressors, these have to be serviced, monitored. There's a lot to it. Again, it's not just I don't want to oversimplify that. It's just changing a filter. There's a lot more to it. That's why we bring a specialized company for doing that.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Fuller?
Yes, just a quick question, yes or no. Have you ever approached any employee for any of these jobs to negotiate that possibly they could do it? Have you contacted one person in our city workforce that concerning about getting the expertise for this job?
I have not directly, Councilmember Fuller. All of our staff working full-time and then some, just covering assortment of maintenance services that we do.
Thank you.
Councilmember Meadows.
Move approval of this item.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second on 4.3. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? All right, passes 4-1. Okay, so 4.5, does there need to be any other discussion?
I move approval of 4.5.
Second.
Okay, first and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed?
No.
All right, passes 4-1. Okay, 4.7.
Mr. Rohani, thank you again. We have an evening tonight. I'm looking at the specs, which every time I look at your work, I'm always glad I left civil engineering, because it's there. But I'm looking at these site amenities on what I have is page M01. I think on the PDF or what was came up is page 66. It's the site amenities. I'm curious, it says manufacturer model or approved equal. I see a list of prescribed companies that are to come in there. Things like park benches, concrete. Concrete is come from Outdoor Creations Incorporated. Unless I'm reading it wrong, but trash receptacles, Outdoor Creations Incorporated. How do we make the choice for these, and then tell the engineering specs that this is what it must be? Where do we get the name Outdoor Creations on here and require trash receptacles to be Outdoor Creations?
Councilmember Fuller, the items that you see with the name of companies, that's developed over the years. First of all, certainly in Oakley and most municipalities, for their various site furniture, I call it, for parks, facilities, you don't want to have a kind of a hodgepodge of products. There is manufacturers for everything. A park bench, there's many manufacturers who make park benches. They're good, bad, there's a whole slew of things. But we want to make sure, again, just experiencing these things, what works best in Oakley, the product that has lasted the test of times, like Outdoor Creation. It's a large company who produces these furnitures. And we use them because we have seen them work good in our systems, in our parks. That's why we specify them as a part of our standards. So let's say a developer is building a new subdivision, building a new park. We don't want, having standard is benefit the community, benefits the organization, because we don't want to stockpile 10 different type of benches. We get vandalized, we get all sorts of things happen to these. We don't want, it's impractical, again, for us or for any other city to have different look, a different trash can here, a different trash can there. We want to have uniformity, just a more look and feel, and specify the products that we feel good, we feel we can stand behind, and once they're installed, they really provide the best service for the community and last the test of time, instead of just every developer pick what they want. We've done that in the past. 10 years ago, when we really didn't have these type of standards, developers would come, and I can show you a lot of our products, the products that they put in, they have been replaced because they didn't even last 5 years. So this is for protection of the community, to make sure we're getting top-notch quality product, and clarifies the design for architects, engineers who work on projects in Oakley.
Well, I appreciate that explanation, and I can understand that, but how do you say to a developer that this is what we want? And they come in and say, well, I can contract this for $5,000 less if you go with ABC Creations. And you come back, no, it has to be Outdoor Creations. Well, how do you determine that that's the best price for the city and what you need? Do you talk with Outdoor Creations? Do you negotiate with Outdoor Creations? Do you negotiate with other companies that might work with them? How do you say, okay, these are the qualities and this is the product that you must buy? What process do you go through to determine that's the right product, that's the one they have to go with?
As I said, it is our job as professionals in the public works business to provide products, provide details that we feel best for the community. And that's been through a number of years, a lot of them trials and tribulations, the products that the ABC Creation, as you alluded to. Let's say ABC Creation, a developer, build a park bench, build railings, build things that didn't even last. Obviously, that's not a top-notch product that we would have specified. And if a city, Oakley, any other city, almost all normal functional cities have standards like this. The state of California has it, counties has it, everybody has it, because they don't want kind of products mishmash through their system, things that they have no control over. This way, we know for sure these are the products that are good, that will last, and whether it's Outdoor Creation, Ross Recreation, there's a number of these that's done.
If I
thank
could
you.
also add to that, if you read that page that you're on, Councilmember Fuller, under manufacturer model, it says or approved equal. So there is flexibility in this standard. But I will just echo the comments that Mr. Rohani made in that prior to his foresight and vision in creating a document like this, there was no standard. So as Mr. Rohani mentioned, it was very, I'd say, case by case as to what was being installed in our parks and the facilities that were constructed that we ultimately accept. And some of the facilities that we build. So, you hire the city manager to ensure the city is run properly, and that my job to make sure that the staff here is doing their job and trained properly. And I take the recommendations of Mr. Rohani seriously. He has many years of experience, as do many members on his team. And if they are saying in their professional recommendation that these manufacturers and items are the standard that we want in the park, that is our professional recommendation to you. If you disagree, we'd like to know why. And if you have alternatives, we are open to discussing. But this is our recommendation to the council for approval tonight.
Just my question is how. I'm got some insight. I would probably want to look at it more, but on this one, I understand, and it is possible to set standards for projects, right, that we would want to follow when we put a project out to bid. That's a question, but I assume it's yes.
Well, Dr. Fuller, even let's say carpet, you specify, XYZ brand carpet model 1, 2, 3. That carpet has very specific specifications, the thickness of the yarns, all of the technical specs that define lines you see. Same thing applies to a park bench. So when we say we want, model, again, 1, 2, 3 from some manufacturer, we know the background, we know the specifications of it. Then let's say if anybody architect, developer, somebody wants to use something else, okay, if you can match this specification, fine. We feel this is the product that we need to have for this organization to keep Oakley a unique and beautiful place.
Okay, then I'll move approval of 4.7.
No, there's some discussion still.
Wait, unless there-
Yeah, there's still some questions here. Most of these items, the city is inheriting, right? Potentially, a developer is putting it in, but we would then be responsible for the maintenance, right?
Some are what the developers put in. A lot of it is things we buy for ourselves because these furniture don't last forever. So a park bench, a trash can that was built 15 years ago, it just cycles through, has to be replaced. So the newer development, let's say a brand new development on Summer Lake North, for instance, brand new park, hasn't even built. The furniture, the site would be based on this. An older part of the town, I have to replace a trash enclosure or whatever, we use the same product.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Henderson?
Mr. Rohani, doesn't this make it easier for our developers or our people working on a contract? They have a playbook to use, and this works as their playbook, so they know what kind of trees, what kind of, all these different things that are laid out here. So when they're bidding our projects or they're building our projects, this actually helps them also.
Absolutely. Again, whether it's a developer, this applies to our own project. We have several high-profile projects that one of them you approved earlier today on East Cypress Road. We have, in July, I'll bring you a contract award for Laura Road widening. I mean, all of these projects, we incorporate same type of material. And as Councilmember Henderson said, this is to provide clarity for anybody who works on city projects. It is not a debate where we argue with whoever, architect, developer, engineer, that, no, I want to use this and I want to use that. And this is, again, this is for protection of the city. That's why state of California has standard, that every county, every other city that exists have standards. Otherwise, you can't run an organization without standard. It's just going to be a commotion that you can't get out of.
Thank you.
Okay, now do we have a motion?
I move approval of item 4.7.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, the item passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Rohani. We do not have any public hearings tonight. We will move on to our regular calendar. 6.1, waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance adding Oakley Municipal Code Section 9.1.1230D to address outdoor and indoor marijuana cultivation exceeding 6 plants as separate offenses. Libby Veronis, our city clerk, will be presenting this.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Both ordinances, agenda items 6.1 and 6.2, are to provide clarification regarding existing law. The first ordinance here seeks to clarify that if a property owner has any outdoor marijuana cultivation which is prohibited by law, or any marijuana cultivation indoor that exceeds 6 plants as prohibited by law, that an administrative fine can be applied for each and every plant. Existing law is already applied this way. However, this provision will make it crystal clear that it applies to each and every plant, so there is no cause for interpretation. Staff is recommending that the council waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance. That concludes the staff report, and I'm available for any questions.
Does the council have any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none.
I'm sorry, but Ms. Veronis very well put in for 6.1 and 6.2, but I don't have any questions on 6.1 if we want to go ahead and move that. I do have questions on 6.2.
Okay, let me finish 6.1 and then we can move on to 6.2.
I'll move 6.1 as presented.
Okay, we have a process that we have to follow though. So are there any public comments? We do not receive any online, but if there's any members of the audience who wish to speak, you may now speak. Okay, seeing no public comments, now I can entertain a motion.
I move.
All right. We have a first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes 5-0. Okay, we are moving on to 6.2, waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance to add Oakley Municipal Code Section 4.41.120 to include administrative hearing requirements related to unlicensed commercial cannabis activity.
This second ordinance also seeks to provide clarification of existing law. In March of this year, the council adopted Ordinance 5-24, which allows fines to be immediately imposed for violations of unlawful commercial cannabis activity, not to exceed $1,000 per violation or $10,000 per day. The proposed ordinance would add a provision to that ordinance to address the process when the property owner receives a citation for such violation. California Government Code Section 53069.4 A2E subsections 1, 2, and 3 allow a reasonable period of time for the violation to be corrected when the property owner can substantiate that 1, the tenant is in possession of the property that is subject to the citation, 2, that the property owner or agent can provide evidence that the lease agreement prohibits commercial cannabis activity, and, which I stress and because it takes all 3 prongs for this to apply, the property owner or agent did not know that the tenant was engaging in this activity and did not have actual notice of such activity. If the property owner can substantiate these 3 things before an administrative hearing officer, then the immediate fine would not be imposed, but rather would provide a reasonable period of time to remedy the violation. So staff is recommending that the council waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance. That concludes my staff report, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, I think you answered part of the question, but what was bothering me is any property owner that can substantiate before a hearing officer that all of the following are true shall be provided a reasonable time for correction. But C is the rental property owner or agent did not know the tenant was engaging in unlawful commercial cannabis activity, and no complaint, property inspection, or other caused the rental property owner or agent to actually notice the unlawful cannabis. From my days in the past, I look at it that I don't give landowners much slack and not knowing that cannabis is being grown inside their grow house. I think it's their responsibility to look at it. There's many indicators, increased electrical use, increased water use. Nobody's coming into the house. It's papered over. There's several, I'm not going to go over them, several ways that a property owner should. And I don't want to let them off the hook. Now, I don't know what a reasonable time or anything else is, but I'm not going to excuse a property owner just because, well, I'll come in and say, hey, you didn't call me, and how am I supposed to know? That's, if you're going to rent property or business, I expect you to either, if you're coming from Nebraska, to hire a property manager to make sure there's no cannabis being grown in the location. So I don't know quite, maybe you can enlighten me how this would work without letting the property owner off of the hook.
Sure, I think that's a great question, and I apologize that I didn't explain further on that point. So when code enforcement issues a violation to a property owner, such as in this circumstance, that property owner would be mailed a notification. So that would either be a notice of violation to begin with, or it would be a notice of violation accompanied by the administrative citation. So they are mailed that. That's to the address that is on the tax property roll. So if that is not returned, we assume that that property owner has received that notice, as they would their property tax assessment. If it is returned, staff has indicated that they actually take additional steps, not that they're required to, but as a courtesy to try and locate that property owner by sending either a second mailing, or if they have a phone number they can locate, calling them, or perhaps even an email address. So there is some follow-up that extends past just that initial notice if the notice is returned to the city.
One question, what would be a reasonable time to correct?
That's a really good question as well, and that's why it is before the administrative hearing officer, because the hearing officer would make that determination.
Okay, I don't know how else to say it, but people maybe should know, but I don't give much slack to property owners that have cannabis growing in their houses. I think that's their responsibility to monitor and be aware of. I can go ahead, but I don't want a reasonable time, say, well, you've got a year to clear it out or something like that. You know, you've got maybe 3 weeks to get this job done, something along that line. But I'll go along with the ordinance as written and move it. Thank you.
Councilmember Meadows.
So just so you're aware of how it all works, we just don't go into people's houses. We don't have that right. I mean, you might not understand that, but we just can't go into your house and say, we're going to take a look at it. Single family home, we have the tenants sign up with Diablo Water for water. We don't pay it. We have them sign up for PG&E. We don't pay it. We're not monitoring their PG&E. We're not monitoring their water. It's not how it works. And to address the reasonable time period, so I can't speak for all property managers, but if I get that code enforcement violation, then I'm checking into what's going on, and I'm serving a 3-day notice to cure or quit. So then they have their number of days to cure or quit it, which is required by the state of California. If they don't cure it, then I'm filing an unlawful detainer. I turn it over to my attorneys, and then they file with the courts an unlawful detainer. I don't control the courts in the state of California. So it's up to them to move it. It could be a couple months. It could be a lot of months. It depends on how backed up the calendar is. That is not something we can control, unfortunately. So I'm glad it is with the hearing officer to determine what's reasonable.
That's fine, and yes, I'm not asking anybody to enter somebody's home. Having done that several times throughout my career in law enforcement, you need a little bit probable cause in a judge to do that. However, I don't just say, well, I couldn't know that or anything. If I just expect the property owner to go by, if the windows are papered over and you go by and then you kind of look at the Diablo water, what is the bill and electrical. I think that the property owner needs to do something. If they want further clues, I'm sure our chief would be glad to offer some on how you might detect it. And maybe if they think there's really something going on, I'm sure Chief Beard would be glad to refer him to an officer that may be able to make an entry into the house. So I think that's up to the property owner.
Vice Mayor Shaw.
So I own a property in Tennessee, so I can't drive by, look at the windows. They pay their utilities, they pay their water. I don't get any access to that because those are their utilities. They belong to them. While the property is mine, they're not required to give it to me. Now, that's fine. That's what I choose to do. But I do like in here that not only that do they have to prove that they knew, but also they have to have a lease that states that it's not allowed on the property. And I think that's another thing that they have to meet all three of these in order to even, to get that exception for the reasonable time to clear. And you think courts here are bad? It's really fun in Tennessee. So long time. Small rural Tennessee where we have to go many, many miles to get to court. So I like that we have all three provisions that have to be met, and we can't expect every owner to live where they own property, and we can't mandate them to get a property management company that's local. I manage from California, my property in Tennessee. I've had no problems doing it. I go out there when I need to, and we can't tell somebody if you don't live where you own your property, you need to have somebody managing it. So that's my statement.
You mentioned you disagree, and I do on this one disagree. You keep saying you can't, you can't, you can't. Yes, you can say I can't, I can't, I can't. And I mentioned the property management. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, you can't, you can't, you can't. You can say I can't. And if you're a property owner, I can't. Then you need to deal with, if they're growing cannabis and the police come along.
Yeah, you as a collective, in general statement, not you as an individual, but you as property manager cannot be forced by anybody to hire property management. It's a choice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's property rights in California. I would guess that the city has zero input on that.
Ultimately, correct. So ultimately, the property owner and the tenant have obligations to each other under California law that are very well stated and regulated. We don't get involved in that. Again, I agree with what our city clerk has said. We have a very good hearing officer who's very fair, and he has handled some cannabis appeals already. And I think, all of the concerns you're raising are valid. Dr. Fuller, your concern about not allowing absentee landlords. I think if I'm a landlord and I'm going to take advantage of that last paragraph, I'm going to have to come forward with some evidence. And maybe it's along the lines of what Councilmember Shaw suggested, which is if you have an agreement that says you can't grow cannabis and the tenant is exclusively responsible for utilities and keeps the doors shut and keeps the outside looking really nice and doesn't get complaints from the neighbors and other things, you can get away with some stuff. Maybe it's not growing 150 or 200 plants like we have encountered, but it may be that they're growing, the state law only allows you to grow 6 plants. And so it may be that they're growing 20 plants or 30 plants. I mean, you can get away with some stuff without, necessarily letting your landlord know. Even a really good landlord may not be able to detect some things. And I think that's why we have a hearing officer, but more importantly, our hearing officer is going to expect the landlord to come forward with some facts. So I think all of the concerns you're raising, all of you as council members, make some very good points. I do think the drafting of the ordinance captures that and gives us flexibility.
I'll get to you in 1 second, Councilmember Meadows. I just have one quick question. This item 2 on here, the rental property owner agent, Vice Mayor Shaw referenced this too, has a rental or lease agreement that prohibits the commercial cannabis activity. How common is that for a landlord to have that section in a lease, having been a long time since I
it's
saw
becoming
it?
much, again, I don't, Councilmember Meadows and Councilmember Shaw know the real estate management business. I'm not in it, but I do know from my peripheral involvement in real property matters that that's becoming much more common.
Okay, so that part of it could potentially be
it may,
in there.
correct me, and maybe Councilmember Meadows can tell me if I'm wrong. I think the California Association of Realtors forum now may actually address it, but I don't know. I know that's used a lot. We have others.
All right, Councilmember Meadows, your turn.
I believe it does. I'm actually going to go back and check it, but if it doesn't address it specifically, there's other language in there that will address illegal activity. And to answer your question, I don't want anybody growing anything in my house, because if they're growing anything in my house, I don't care if it's 100 plants or 1 plant, they're damaging my house. I'd rather have it outside. But I don't want anything in my house as a property manager or a landlord, because now I've got some major damage, major damage, like mold. So I'll move, did you call public comment?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for following the rules here. So we did not receive any written public comment, but if there's any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, now's the time. All right, seeing none now, I can entertain a motion.
I move approval of item 6.2.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? All right, the item passes 5-0. All right, so we are moving on to 7.1, the city manager reports. Do you still have stuff?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, just wanted to highlight 2 events coming up in the next few weeks here in the city. The city is hosting Major League Fishing June 5th through 7th. They will be running their Toyota Series tournament out of the Big Break Marina. Should be a great event and bring a lot of anglers into the city. And then on June 7th, we are hosting here at Civic Center Plaza our Friday Night Bites and Summer Concert Series. So just wanted to bring those 2 events to the community. That concludes my report. Thank you.
And we'll have social about those. I mean, I know I've seen it for Friday Night Bites. I don't pay that much attention to fishing, but I know people are crazy about it. So
We will have social on both of those.
perfect, great, amazing. All right, we already did item 7.B. Now we will move on to 7.2. Reports from council liaisons to regional committees, commissions, and boards, and Oakley City Council. Oakley City Council acting as a successor agency to the Oakley Redevelopment Agency. Vice Mayor Shaw.
On the 15th, I went to the Opportunity Junction ribbon cutting for their new medical assisting training facility. Later that day, the library subcommittee meeting, we worked to finalize the Friends of the Oakley Library fundraiser events and set dates. Please keep a lookout from the Friends on the opportunities to get involved to raise funds. On the 16th, I attended as an alternate the Delta Protection Commission. We had a budget update, discussed a potential location for the Delta Heritage Forum held later this year, could be the Antioch Historical Museum. We voted to support federal legislation to provide funding to address abandoned vessels in the Delta. We met the graduating class of the 8th graduating class of the Delta Leadership Program. And then we voted to appoint 2 members to the Delta Protection Advisory Committee. Side note, most of the appointees over the years of the Delta Advisory Committee have been graduates of the Delta Leadership Program that want to continue working with the Delta Protection Commission. The next meeting will be held here at Oakley in July. And then on the 17th, I had the honor of helping with the ribbon cutting for Chrome Coffee here in Oakley. Very excited to bring another small business, especially in our downtown area. They look to be doing pretty well, so I'm very happy about that. Of course, the 21st, we had the joint meeting with the Planning Commission. Thank you for putting that together. On 5/22 was Tri-Delta. We were told that our very own Planning Commissioner and former Tri-Delta Transit CEO, Jeannie Krieg, is being honored on June 20th with the WTS Annual Scholarship and Award Gala. WTS focus is on promoting the advancement of women in the transportation industry. We also received an update that the Clipper 2 rollout is on hold indefinitely. Clipper 2 would have allowed riders to pay for bus, train, and ferries with their debit card. With some bugs being discovered during the pilot in San Francisco, the original plan of having it available by summer of 2024 is no longer feasible. As a board, we did approve Tri-Delta to enter into a 1-year agreement with the Makers Boulevard for quarterly operations of community market at the Oakley Mobility Hub, or as most of you know, Oakley Park and Ride. The Makers Boulevard is a community-driven makers market featuring local artisans and small businesses, and they have run high-quality, successful events focusing in supporting small businesses, community engagement, preserving the community resources, and family fun. This will bring local vendors out at no cost to Tri-Delta, and because multiple Tri-Delta transit routes are already serving this mobility hub, having this community there will allow greater public access. If this becomes a success, we can see more things like farmers markets and other things moving forward. And I know Mayor Williams was working on getting this to become a reality, so while she was not at the meeting, I want to make sure she gets some credit for her large effort on that. And then finally, we received an update on SB 1031 for Tri-Delta. On the 23rd, I stopped by the Oakley Public Works Department while they celebrated their National Public Works Week, hosting some of our youngest residents. The students from Vintage got to get a firsthand look at what it takes to manage and maintain our public infrastructure and keep the city in tip-top shape for all of our enjoyment. On the 25th was the Memorial Day event at the Oakley Community Center, and I really want to thank everybody that came out for this very special day. And Sunday and Monday was filled with calls and emails regarding the Oaks apartment and the flooding that caused the elevator to go down. And that is my report.
Councilmember Meadows.
Don't worry, it won't be as long. I also attended the Chrome Coffee grand opening. Great to have a new business into downtown Oakley. I attended Memorial Day celebration on Saturday also, and then last week, I guess it was, attended CCTA meeting and MCE meeting. That's all.
Councilmember Henderson.
And I attended the Memorial Day ceremony, and Parks and Rec staff did a really nice job, and it was a nice event.
All right. Vice Mayor Shaw already covered some of the things with the library committee. On 5/16, the reason that she had to be my alternate for the Delta Protection Commission is because I was invited to attend the Family Justice Center annual fundraiser with Supervisor Burgess. She sits on the board there, and it was really very eye-opening to see all of the populations they serve and their fundraising to get a much-needed San Ramon campus. So the Family Justice Center will be expanding. On 5/17, I attended the Freedom Letter of Intent rally, and for anybody who's not aware of how special Freedom makes this, because I wasn't, it's a very important and inspirational. Most of the other high schools in our district do, the ones who are getting sports recognition or who are going to some of the bigger schools, they do a letter of intent ceremony, and it's usually just for families, and it's an after-school thing. Well, Freedom does 2 different all-school rallies, and the intent of it is to highlight every single one of their graduating seniors, and they recognize the ones going into trade, they recognize the ones going into military, they recognize anything you can think of, DVC, and they bring in the whole school, freshmen all the way through, so that they are inspired to join them on the stage. And it's something really unique that Freedom does. It's now being mimicked across the nation. And so I really just want to commend the team there. It was a really special opportunity, and one that I had no idea about. So I was really excited to attend that. I did not know what I was going into, so I did not have anything prepared, but I pulled it off. All right, and then, so my trip to China, there was a ton of meetings. They kept us very busy from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I was in meetings. So I'm going to give you the brief version. Anybody can reach out to me with further questions about any of the very specific items. Our very first day there, we had a 9-hour layover in Hong Kong, and that's where we took 2 meetings at the Hong Kong airport. So that was with a meeting with the China United States Exchange Foundation, which is an NGO working in partnership with the government. Our second meeting was with Invest Hong Kong, which is a government entity promoting investment in Hong Kong, plus facilitation between international businesses and the U.S. They gave us a list of businesses in Hong Kong that are looking for a U.S. footprint, which I will pass on to Harumi to manage, but they're in the areas of F&B, fashion, and logistics. Once we arrived in China, there was an industry matchmaking event for cities, which was linking the top industries in Chongqing with city leaders from around the world. So I do want everybody to realize the scope of this, because again, not something that was shared ahead of time necessarily. So a lot of these meetings I was presenting to people from all over the world, Australia, Papua New Guinea, Germany. There were every country basically that has any kind of link to China was there, and we were tasked with presenting to everybody. So it was great because it would give us an opportunity to interact with businesses from China who want to come here, but also any business from Australia, any business from Papua New Guinea, or any of these countries. They basically got an overview of what the city of Oakley has to offer. And that was a really impressive meeting. And there were also some best practices from some of the different industrial parks and stuff that I will also share with you guys, because there were lots of them presented. One of the things that one of the delegations said, I think actually the team from Sacramento, so Seattle and Sacramento both have 4 offices in China. The city of Sacramento, the city of Seattle have 4 offices in China. And one of the things that one of their delegations said, that as long as you're an official in place, you need to create benefits for that place and people. And it just kind of stuck with me, because the rest of the conference was focused on green city development, building green, resilient, and inclusive cities. And then we got to attend, they don't call them sister cities in China, they call them friendship cities. So we attended a very large network of the friendship cities, and Secretary Blinken emphasized the importance of establishing friendship city relationships with China, as the 2 countries share the largest economies. And one of the things that I realized when I was interacting with all these different delegations is a lot of the times when there's a foreign country involved, I mean, I had the same conversation with, he's the governor and the congressman from Papua New Guinea. A lot of times, a foreign country doesn't want to come to the United States until they've had that first face-to-face meeting. And so for a lot of them, this is an important step. I know there were some questions about, well, what does Oakley have to offer? We have a 4,000 job logistics industrial project that we need to fill. That represents 4,000 jobs for our people. So one of the industries that reached out to us is they do Amazon FBA, which is an online. You can purchase things, and it's like you're purchasing from a private seller. And they have exhausted warehouse space in many, many countries. And since the U.S. is the top buyer of their items, they would like to establish a footprint here. I also was able to connect a couple of our local ranchers. Well, technically not in Oakley, they're in Knights and Brentwood. A couple of our local ranchers I connected because there is an importer who would like to have American beef imported to China. So I was able to reach those connections, and then they'll have to then work out the deal. Obviously, Oakley has no stake in that, but since agriculture is so important to me, that one was important. So that's kind of the gist of it. On the final day, we did look at a city for potentially a friendship city. I want to thank Harumi for all of the hard work you put into it. The artifacts and the things that I was able to present that you gave was very meaningful, and all the tradition and all that stuff is really important to these countries as you're entering these. And so it was really nice to have this great story. And the city that they are proposing is just one of the most amazing places I've ever been. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There's, it's called the Dazu rock carvings. There are these carvings that have been moved from city to city to city as the war was continuing, and Dazu was the end of the line. If these Buddhist monks 1,000 years ago did not move their pieces there, they would be destroyed forever, because that was what was happening as the wars were encroaching. So, this is its final resting place. They've now been in Dazu for about 900 years, and it's, it's the Buddhist Bible, and it's the book of Tao. It's their Bible, and it was just a really impressive sight to see. And clearly the work that Harumi did and the work that the folks from China Silicon Valley did to match up our two cities, while it's a population of 750,000, it's a very agricultural focused. That's a small city. It's a very agricultural focused, and it was really nice to see all the farmland juxtaposed with the great growth and stuff. So I think those two things were really, really amazing. But I did want to just really thank Harumi, because I was very not professional looking, but you made it very professional looking. So I appreciate that. And I think that is it for my reports. All right. So I would like to ask if we could take a 5-minute bathroom break. Okay, fine. All right. Can we do item 7.2B, request for future agendas? Okay, great. Seeing none, my bathroom break happens. 5 minutes, please. All right, thank you everybody for being prompt on that break. We are going to item 8.1, exploring funding options for local startups and small businesses. This is being presented by Harumi Murata, our economic development analyst.
Well, good evening. Welcome back, Mayor Williams, Vice Mayor Shaw, council members, and the members of the public. My name is Harumi Murata. I am an economic development analyst. And tonight I'm here to bring the topic for the work session. As written in the staff report, I'm excited to be here to present how we can collectively ensure the sustainability and the growth of our local economy. During our previous council meeting in January, the direction was given to identify a range of options for small businesses. We also reviewed our current program and the support we are extending to the businesses across the several key areas, and I'll go over the details of our current programs, of our progress, and how we can leverage these experiences into even greater success. First, I wanted to dive into the impactful initiatives and the programs that we've rolled out here in Oakley, particularly those aligned with general plans, strategic plans, and economic development work plans. There are many more we service, but I wanted to highlight these as it directly aim to financially support and invest into our small business economy here in Oakley. A key highlight of our recent effort is the Retail Light Industrial Improvement Program, which we launched last year as a part of our investment strategy utilizing the $1 million ARPA fund for economic development allocation, and $700,000 were allocated for this program. It's designed to directly stimulate private investment and enhance the quality and appearance of the local commercial, retail, and light industrial buildings. Since its launch, the program has attracted substantial interest. We've received 14 applications and 5 completed the project. They also have been awarded at the moment. 5 projects were also new businesses that have decided to set their roots here in Oakley. These projects represent a significant commitment from our business communities. The estimations shows that each project invested at least, there's a typo there, but at least $300,000 into improving their properties. And I apologize, it's $300,000. And we launched, another one is a small business recovery program. We launched this program with a $250,000 allocation from ARPA fund. We've received 22 applications and awarded 16 eligible businesses during the first cohort. The analysis shows that the service sector received the highest total grant amount, which is the $17,500. And considering the variety of services, it's clear that those sectors have unique financial assistance needs. Childcare and education services have also showed high average grants, which might indicate the financial loss during the pandemic and the need for targeted support. As for the program status, currently the second cohort application is open and it's due by the end of June. Oakley Entrepreneur Center, this is something that the city, operated by the city, which is very unique. It's opened in 2019. We are nurturing the local innovation and then growth and are fostering vibrant startup community here in downtown Oakley. This this type of initiatives is a very unique effort provided by the municipality agencies, especially here in East Contra Costa County, that represents a distinctive effort. Two companies have graduated from this space and moved to a physical location in the area. Operation cost for the center is about $30,000 annually. This includes electricity, building maintenance, repairs, internet service, and copier leases. Currently, we host 4 small businesses and 3 co-working desk tenants. And the space is generating about $25,800 in revenue. The most of our tenants are involved in construction, contracting, real estate, and service sectors. The value extends for, it's beyond its direct financial support and contributions. It's challenging to really quantify, but profoundly significant. Our tenants are not only hiring locals, but providing essential services that never existed here in Oakley, and also creating training opportunities for local talents and fostering growth within the micro industry sector in downtown Oakley. This is before my time. In 2019, the city set aside $275,000 for a downtown revitalization loan program to offer up to $75,000 in low interest loans and grants for facade improvements, including signage, lightings, landscaping, and other building upgrades. 3 projects were selected and received equal parts of $37,500 grant and a loan, with the loan portion carrying a 2% interest payable over 10 years, resulting in 120 payments. As of today, the overall payment collection success rate is about 42%, with 1 business current on payment, another business sold to a different business entity, and 1 business has stopped making payments early into the schedule due to various challenges. The businesses that ceased payment have requested loan deferment, debt. They also mentioned about the debt burden and improvements that they made, primarily benefiting the property owners rather than the business owners and tenant themselves. Due to the complex nature of this loan structure, and our financial department has invested a considerable time and effort to documentation, payment collections, and overall management. This complexity has still really been highlighted, the need for us to take a step back and reconsider the terms and support structures of the program. And our team is currently working diligently on these revisions to ensure that the program becomes more efficient and effective in serving its intended goals. I also wanted to mention that we offer various educational opportunities tailored for small businesses. This include our small business workshops, the small business work forums that we held last year, and the Shop Oakley gift card programs. We also partner with the Chamber and other local agencies to ensure that we provide platforms with practical advice and industry insight and networking opportunities. We actively connect businesses with external financial agencies to facilitate access to financial resources by bridging the gap between the local businesses and potential investors. Before I go into the details of financial options, available options, I wanted to also mention about the financial, that there's a risk associated, especially with financing private ventures, that exposes the city to various risks and liabilities. well, obviously, I'm not an expert on this subject, but I can easily identify that it's not only the city financial stability, but also its brand reputation and relationship with the community it might impact. So understanding these risks and implementing the well-rounded and appropriate mitigation strategies are also very important for ensuring that the benefit of such investments outweigh the potential negatives. The key risks are financial risks, reputation risks, political risks, and legal risks. And here's the matrix, which allows us to kind of confidently be able to analyze and confidently invest into projects that promises economic and social benefits. With that said, as highlighted in the staff report, there are numerous existing programs and opportunities for partnerships, and many more worth considering. However, I wanted to emphasize the need for as I developed this support, I also realized that we really need to have the comprehensive feasible study in order to have good data. And such evaluation will help us evaluate current needs, prioritize our programs, and understand the risks involved. And this is especially important as we aim to support sectors that are not impacted by barriers to accessing the capital. The first options is the revolving loan funds, RLF, offered by the USEDA, which provides loans to businesses that are unable to secure traditional bank financing. This is one of the most common small business grants that we see offered by the municipalities across the Bay Area. To meet the requirement, the city must develop and maintain revolving loan plan that aligns with the specific economic development goals and demonstrates effective administration throughout the loan fund's life cycle. Revolving loans are typically used for operating capital, property acquisition, construction, renovation, and equipment purchases. And some funds may target specific industries or sectors. Examples of examples of from other California cities like Berkeley, Richmond, Fresno, Modesto, they established these programs. Berkeley, for example, offers loans for qualified businesses ranging from $35,000 to $100,000 with term of 5 to 7 years at a prime plus 2% interest rate. They facilitated 41 loans since 1980s, and 26 loans have been fully repaid. 7 loans are currently active, and unfortunately, 8 had to be written off. And the fund is managed by the Loan Administration Board, which oversees all lending activities. This oversight is very important as managing such a fund requires such a significant administrative effort. And I also wanted to mention about the example from the city of Richmond. They transferred their loan administration to a community financing organization, Community First Lending. You may have heard of this agency, which is affiliated with their local housing development corporation. This transition can be seen in many municipalities now as due to administrative complexities and mitigating the risks. Kind of relates to how municipality manages the loans. CDFI, the Community Development Financial Institutions, these institutions are vital because they provide financial products and services to populations and areas that traditional bank often overlook, especially in local low-income and underserved communities. CDFI are very diverse, and they are affiliated with community development banks and credit systems, credit unions, and non-regulated entities like nonprofit loan funds and venture capital funds. Wanted to mention about the Working Solutions CDFI, as they joined our Small Business Forum last year as a speaker. And they offered loans ranging from $5,000 to $100,000 for startups and early stage businesses with no minimum credit score requirements. They pair every loan with free consulting services and mentorships to maximize the borrower's success. Other example is A New America, which focuses on supporting new citizens, refugees, immigrants, along with women and minorities. They also provide loans and trainings. Several local governments, including Berkeley, Oakley, Oakland, San Francisco, and Sonoma County, they partnered with CDFI to allocate resources effectively. In Sonoma County, for example, the county contributed $500,000 to cover the various CDFI costs, facilitating about 40 loans totaling $1 million. CDFI also administer revolving loan funds for many Bay Area cities, including San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley. It's been a common practice to transfer revolving loans funds operations to local CDFIs. I would lightly touch this. The venture capital and angel investors, they also provide funding in the Bay Area. Keiretsu Forum, NorCal, and Sequoia Capitals are quite well known. Other funding avenues like Marble Bridge Funding Group offer tailored financial strategies and services, while platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo facilitate equity crowdfunding, allowing businesses to gather the small amounts from broad investors. Businesses exploring these options also need to carefully consult with their financial expert and legal experts to navigate the complexities of financing and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. The next one is SBA loans. Discussing SBA loans in detail typically requires over an hour, so we'll skip the grandeur of the detail. But East Bay branch is over Cal State East Bay in Hayward, and they regularly conduct community sessions. And they offer 7A loans and 504 loan program, micro loan programs. Those are known packages and programs that they offer, and all these loans are managed through participating local banks, making them accessible right where you are in the community. Over the past year in California, SBA approved 119 SBA 7A loans, each averaging about $500,000. And 135 SBA 504 loans, forgive me, each averaging about $1.4 million. And the state also offers diverse range of financial programs, tax incentives. For example, Industrial Development Bond provide low-interest financing for long-term projects requiring collaboration with entities like iBank or CalEd. They also offer California Compete Grant and tax credit program, CalCap programs, and other various tax incentives, including sales tax, use tax exemptions, R&D tax credit, and those are also offered to a lot of local small business entities. I'm also going to lightly touch this. As for the TOT, this may not currently be well suited for Oakley. Notable cities like San Francisco, LA, San Diego, Palm Springs, Anaheim, they have TOT district. The city of Burbank, for example, they created a budget of $2 million per year for business development, and that's a combination effort. And they combine the city funds and the and also the downtown business improvement district revenue. That's a very new model that California has seen. Relates to business improvement district. Downtown Walnut Creek also has one the district that includes every businesses within the downtown district borders. With I believe they got about 650 members, including restaurants, shops, entertainment venue, property owners, and service providers. And finally, to conclude my presentation, first, I wanted to emphasize that the city is very committed to fostering the small business community and the growth through a variety of financial incentives. The second, well, we are not just providing the support in isolation. We're actively creating and reinforcing the partnerships with financial institutions. And lastly, I wanted to mention that about the associated risks. Understanding these risks and assessing the impact and operational success is very important. And the thorough analysis of these risks and the feasibility studies becomes also important as well. With that said, I thank you all for your attention, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. I know this whole work session was aimed at me, so I appreciate the work that went into this. I know I've tasked you guys with coming up with some different ways to creatively finance things, and so I would like to acknowledge the work that went into this. I also would like to acknowledge everything that we've done so far. I mean, I know how instrumental those small business, especially for all of the new businesses, Willie's, the Tortas, Chrome Coffee, I know how important, like those bridging the gap with the funding is like what made the difference for most of them being able to even occupy. So I have to say, I love that, which is exactly why I asked for an item like this, because that was all ARPA funding, and I don't know how that continues. And I want, like, we've had an explosive year of growth, and I would like to continue that. And unfortunately, some of these things are just really difficult to get. Like, I don't know much about the HUD 108 loan program, so that I want to find out more information. I'll do that research. I'm not tasking you with that. But you know, for anything for SBA, which is really the easiest sort of point of entry, you have to have 2 years of financials, and that's a really hard barrier for people. And just so people understand, a restaurant, so I mean, look at any of those guys who started over there. A restaurant costs $400,000 if you're lucky to furnish at the beginning, and then you have rent, you have all those different things, right? And that's assuming you're delivered a space. If you have to do any of the other things, it's the reason that we have lots of McDonald's and lots of that stuff, because they have the capital, the smaller businesses don't. So I just think that's an important thing to point out. I actually really like that statistic about the Entrepreneur Center costing us $30,000, but then rent brings in $28,500. Like, basically that's a cost neutral, basically, sort of endeavor. We have to give credit to our former mayor, Alora, for bringing that, because I think it was a great idea. And I know my husband has a space at the Entrepreneur Center. He's about to make his first Oakley sale, so to speak. So, you know, that was enabled through that. And I know he was talking to Councilmember Meadows, and I mean, we do have an office space shortage here. So I think that fills a really important need. So I think those like creative solutions are what we need to work through. I did have one question, and then I'll turn it over because I know Councilmember Meadows has a question. So the 300K, there was a mistake in the thing. It said 618. Is the 300K in order to do that grant funding? That's like the requirement, right? Like, somebody couldn't do $80,000 worth of improvements, or was that just an average that they were at least doing that amount? That's just today what the average has been. Maybe somebody who wants to do an $80,000 improvement, they're going to get a smaller portion, or do we have a threshold of the 300K?
Well, the program, thank you so much for your comment, Mayor Williams. So yes, that is that's an average cost. Okay. And as we wait for the rest of the project to be completed, I can say that the cost would just goes up. Yeah. So, but for those 5 projects that has been completed, they are likely to spend, yes, we have the proof of their spending, direct spending, and which, well, it varies to project. But we set the program as the maximum payment of $50,000. So it didn't really matter whether your project is going to be small or not. But we were very fortunate to have eligible applications, qualified applications, and they happened to receive the $50,000 cap.
Perfect. Okay, now your turn. Sorry, Councilmember Meadows.
It's all good. So did you state that right? Just over 100 SBA 504 loans and a little over 100 SBA 7A loans throughout the whole state of California?
Probably so, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
It's a tough barrier. There's a lot of businesses that don't have the 2 years, they don't have the books. It's tough.
Well,
I mean, I was surprised. That to me is a pretty low number for 40 million people. And I don't need any response. That's just kind of surprising. And it takes those possibilities somewhat off the table. Something outside of just throwing money is a lot of these businesses, and in a somewhat related instance, I had to deal with one today. They're a property owner, but they need help. Some of these businesses need help going through the process. They don't know, they need somebody to kind of navigate them. And if we could help somehow navigate some of these viable businesses, you know, not everybody that has an idea should, I mean, they got to do some work themselves, but a lot of these people need help through the process. And like today, it was a property owner, but and I think they were hard-headed, but they'd been here at least 2 times hearing the same thing, but they need help seeing how to get to the end point.
Thank you, Councilmember Meadows. Yes, that is a very good feedback. We constantly seek the way to navigate the project, construction project, especially Public Works, and the building department, they do have a flow chart that generally speaking, the commercial projects can follow through. However, though, it has to definitely be tailored, and tailored support is needed. We will seek the way to identify those.
Well, and it's not just like Public Works or community development. It's kind of like, you know, I mean, I want to do a restaurant. You know, kind of what are the steps? You need to go see the health department. You need to fire department. You need to do this. This is kind of a timeline or a sequencing that you need. And I know last year you did do the small business trainings, and I think that was good. And considering the program, I think it was pretty well attended. So continuing some of that, and then just kind of having somehow maybe some kind of liaison program or map you can help hand out.
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Fuller?
Yes, when I was looking through financing, I noticed we qualify as a rural town, even though we're in the metro area, what I read. I was going through, I guess the FDA, not the FADA, but the agricultural areas, because our population, I went to look through census, and we're classified more as rural. We're in a metropolitan area, but our population, 43,000, allows us to go from a rural standpoint. And there are a number of programs to develop in rural areas. I don't know them all. I haven't. I don't know where that would fit in with me, but I can say, like, even libraries. Libraries fit there in a rural in the rural category. And I know that we look at metropolitan, but and maybe even in Brentwood, I think the cutoff is 63,000. But our town, from what I read, especially with the neighboring communities open as they are, we fall into that category, and I'm not hearing anything said about it, and I'm kind of confused why. Like I said, I didn't get all the particulars, but when I was searching through it, yes, SBA isn't as great as it says, and there's others, but I'm rambling now. I don't want to ramble. In other words, we keep looking at metropolitan, but when I was looking at it, we were falling more into, even though we're in the metropolitan area, as a rural community, which offers a rural development type of loan, which is much more broad. In other words, if you're in Kansas, they're looking to get money into Kansas so that businesses don't close, type of thing, or you're running something. So, and again, I don't know, just something to look at.
Do you know where you saw that?
Yeah, gosh, I think it was on the Business Administration somewhere. I mean, Department of Economic Development, or the category is business development in the U.S. government is what I was looking at. And I was on my nonprofit. I'm just looking at it. I wouldn't really want $500,000 now, because I probably would have to put up my house, and I don't want to put up my house. But I was looking at these. These are non-collateral type loans that, for me, would be fairly sufficient, and I haven't pursued it. So in answer to your question, all I can say is, I'll try Googling it tomorrow, but Department of Agriculture loans or rural loans in the United States type of thing. Let's see what comes up. And of course, I keep bringing back up, but nonprofits put money in the bank. Nonprofits rent space. Nonprofits have employees that go to lunch, and we never discuss it. We act like they got some sort of rash or growth on them. We just say, well, we aren't going to look at them, but we keep looking away. And you talk about China. I did talk with Mr. McMurray, just if he was interested in it, or maybe he was there. But like when I was in Hawaii, I don't know, maybe you're familiar with it, but when I was in the university in Hawaii, in Honolulu and Oahu, there was the University of Hawaii west of Oahu, which is a small one in comparison to Manawa. But associated that was a Chinese learning center. And they had formed together, bringing in capital to build a university type of school, and called it Chinese Learning Center. And I know China are investing much more in education. The reason I bring it up, it was the FBI director gave a speech in Vanderbilt in Nashville, and he was saying, like I'm saying, he says, it seems like we're going to war with China is inevitable. But one of the things that he did stress, that if we wanted to help mitigate the area, that we should look at building up educational resources with China. So that was another, I don't know if it go anywhere, but I know that if we build a Chinese educational area here, we're surrounded by the University of Pacific, University of San Francisco, Cal State East Bay, UC Berkeley,
St.
UC
Mary's.
Davis, what?
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's. Yes, St. Mary's in Moraga, excuse me. But St. Mary's. So what happens if they came here and took some of our land to build a learning center and coupled up with one of the universities? So that was just something that when I drove by it, I mean, the University of Hawaii and then Oahu is out in the country, and they're obviously being helped by this Chinese Learning Center in terms of finances and students. So they had a good relationship, it seemed like. That's enough.
Going to the nonprofit things, any of our nonprofits who wanted to open something, right? I mean, I know you and I just had a meeting with Working Wonders. If they are serious about trying to find some space, they could qualify for a grant like that, right? Like this. There's nothing in our grant program or anything that says a nonprofit is disqualified. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, which grant? That
Any of our grants that we have. Obviously, for the one that's the relief, it would have had to been an established nonprofit that was able to show that there was some decline, right?
Well,
But the other one.
Well, as for the small business grants that we offer,
Yeah.
unfortunately, nonprofits are excluded.
From that one. But the other one, so like what we are writing for Chrome Coffee and for, if Working Wonders said, we want an office and here's all the work that we're going to improve here, they would qualify for that specific one. Potentially. I'm not saying carte blanche, right? We have businesses today that can't qualify, nothing to do with nonprofit status versus nonprofit status. They just don't qualify. It just potentially, they would still be invited to submit the paperwork just like any other business, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the property owner has to sign off the application.
Okay. Great. I just wanted to clarify that they're not exempt from any of this stuff and nobody's putting, one over the other. So, any other questions from anybody else? Okay, this is a work session, so there's really no vote to be had. Potentially, though, I would love if we could circle back around, because I realize it's a big ask, but I would love to see, obviously, if we could look at any potential future financing, right? Like I've said, obviously Brentwood does their business license different, but if there's any way to come up with some impact fees that a developer would have that could sort of funnel some too, I would love to see something like that, A. But B, in the meantime, maybe we can come up with something like what Councilmember Meadows was saying, because it is really, I actually took a note right here. How can a business understand what tax incentives they qualify? Because we're assuming they have a tax professional. Lots of us are running these and we're crying over our taxes by ourselves as it's tax time. So how would they even know if they qualify? So that kind of speaks to what Councilmember Meadows is saying. And obviously we're, trying to upskill the Chamber of Commerce, right? We want them to be able to be sort of a source of action. And I'm sort of picturing like maybe a mentorship program happening. But, if there's not each business represented in the chamber, that could help pair, like, are there any city resources where we could help them walk through it? Because I'll tell you right now that the restaurants definitely call me and they're like, we don't even know where the first thing to start is. And unfortunately, it isn't really like a cut and dry. Obviously, some of the stuff from the county is, but what we ask for is different from what Brentwood asks for. And sometimes it's not actually anything different. It's just the way we're asking it. So I just think if we could look at a program like that, so that we're not on the hook for any of these loans. I got the message loud and clear. I understand, and it makes sense. But if there's ways that we can encourage it, because everybody is sitting up here, we hear about how we don't want the McDonald's, we don't want the gas stations, we don't want the car washes. But business owners like me and like Chrome and like any of those, it's just too expensive to start up. It's very low margins. It makes it very difficult. So if we're able to streamline any process for those specific sort of, small business owners, if we're able to offer this sort of like concierge service, like I understand this is staff time and all of that stuff, I get it. But if we can do some of that stuff and set Oakley aside without being on the hook for financial, that's just my points that I would like.
We do have a golf shop too on Main Street. Big welcome sign. I don't know what they're selling, but some golf.
All right, I talked a lot, but does anybody from the audience have any public comment on this item? They might have comments. All right, so as I said earlier, this is a discussion item. There's no vote. Do you feel like we gave you enough direction on like next steps though? Okay. Amazing. All right, so we are now moving to a closed session. We have 2 items. 9.1 is conference with labor negotiators. The agency designated representatives are Mayor Williams, Vice Mayor Shaw, and City Attorney Cole. The unrepresented employee is our city manager. We also have item 9.2, city attorney performance evaluation, which is pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The next regular meeting will be held Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, beginning at 6:30 p.m. at the Oakley City Council Chambers. Just a reminder, it's our 1 meeting for June, but never fear. There'll be more info at the next meeting, but we are going to be doing a special Meet Your Mayor, Vice Mayor meeting on June 25th. More to come out with that, so you all will have info, but you'll have access to us a second time that month. And we invite you to attend both of those things. With that, we will have no further business when we return, so we will not be coming back to report. This meeting is now adjourned.